Eons ago, during the age of the Magi, the world was something other. Magic.
Hello, everyone. Everyone's in the wrong place. I just realized that we don't need the thing. It doesn't. We don't need the intro video anymore. So we don't need to do the thing. EB and Tiger, can you switch?
Tiger Berry.
I set it up for John to be here, and he's not here yet. He's stuck in traffic, so we're starting without him. Welcome to the Darkfire Roundtable. There's no more story. There is no more story to be had, and because of that, we are all doing a Q&A roundtable thing. PB's in. Have you flipped your camera around today?
What? No, it's always this way, isn't it?
Nope.
No, you flip it the other way.
Usually the other way.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Well, there you go. Now you're in the right place.
It's because I don't have XSplit open. I just have the camera.
We'll see about that. All right. Well, as soon as John arrives, it's all going to get destroyed again anyway, so it's fine for now. I don't know. Welcome to the stream, everybody. It's the Darkfire Roundtable Q&A session, where we go over some of the things that happened in the campaign. We have so many questions that I've managed to grab from the Discord, and also
I feel like it's too quiet.
What do you need?
Weird?
What do you
music on Roll20, like some sad, like
he's got tavern music on Roll20.
Yeah, you can join.
Okay.
I'm still using it. Also, there's a thing that you can do today. I think Kujio set up a bot. Also, I haven't heard from Kujio all day. I don't know where he is, so I'm hoping it still works. If you type Q, ! Q in the chat, and then space your question, whatever you want to ask, it should log the questions for me, and we'll get to those ones at the end of the stream. Anything you want to ask during the stream. Oh yeah, it works. There you go. So, thanks NMF1. If you do have a question, don't just type some bullshit in there because it's going to be annoying. Just if you have a question, a real one, and we haven't gotten to it during the first half of the stream, then the second half of the stream I'll probably try and dedicate to any questions that come through live on the stream. For now, we have a lot of questions on the Discord that people have been just submitting just throughout the campaign, and this last week there have been tons. I think I got them all.
Questions there are.
I've been going in and out, just checking and scrolling up and down and double checking. I think I caught every question. There are definitely some in there that I can't answer, some that I won't answer, and for the most part, I think I got them all. So even if I don't answer them, I'll let you know. And of course, here they come. All the questions are coming in on my other screen for the live Q&A. So I think it's probably best that we all just... I don't know if any of you three have anything that you want to ask outright, each other or me or anything.
I can wait.
Well, I thought
I'll wait till the break.
You want to wait till the break?
Yeah, I want to see. Well, yeah, I mean, I want to see if somebody else asks.
Oh,
it
right, I see. I thought you meant
after
we were on break. I was like, you could have just asked me in the week.
No. I mean,
I'll ask you after. I'd rather get to the people that want to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's do it that way then. I didn't really have any plan. My original plan for this was just I know that there are so many questions that only I can answer, and I was concerned that you three would just be kind of stuck there, bored out of your minds with nothing to do for a while. So I thought maybe we just I'd do the first half, and then you come in. I don't know, but I think just based on the amount of questions there are, we'll just go down this list. I tried to figure out a way to show them on the screen, but it's just so much effort because they come from all different places and things, and they're all different things, and I'm not good at making bots like Kujio, so I'm just going to say them verbally, and then we'll have to get to them. Good. The first question I have came from Pumpkinberry, and I'm not even kidding. It's the first thing I put in my Google Doc that just says questions. Would it have worked? ?
Yes.
It was the first the first official question I got, and it was in reference to the slitting of the throat. When you guys were back in time, would it have worked? Yes, it would have worked. There were 3 ways out of there unless you thought of something else. Go to the mountain, go to the forest, die. With like the 3. Fail. Well, it was go to the mountain, go to the forest, and fail your pursuit. Because you could actually have made it through the entire campaign still doing the pursuit with the braces on and things.
I assume that going to the woods would have actually extended the campaign a little bit. Probably wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd still be in the woods now. I do.
Oh wow!
I planned a decent amount for it. I genuinely planned out like a whole other thing. Like I was like gearing up to end when you guys first went back in time, and then I started to plan out the ways that you would return, and I was like, this is like a whole other Rose Guard level quest that you're going to end up doing. So I had consigned myself. I was like, oh fuck it, this is going on for another half year.
I wish.
I was ready for it, and then you died, and I was like, oh no, it's not. We're back on track for my original thing, which was weird. The stuff with the forest, I'm not gonna reveal because I might use it still. Not necessarily like in this or as a Darkfire supplement, of which there still might be stuff. I don't know. I'm not guaranteeing anything. But there might still be some little tidbits that we run that are directly linked to Darkfire. But
Hold us.
but the forest was planned out to the point where I'm like, it would be silly for me to not reuse that in some way someday. So I'm not going to tell you what it was or anything like that. I can say that someone's NPC that never got used was there and now is going to show up in the beginning of Dying Order, or is going to show up in one of the Darkfire supplemental things that we do at some point. But somebody submitted a little dragon that was designed to piss off Hero. It was a fairy dragon, or is that what they're called? What are they called? God, where is he? I don't know what I did with him now. There was one of the, somebody submitted a little you know those dragons that warlocks can use as familiars if you have the expanded warlock list.
Pseudo dragon.
It was a pseudo dragon that somebody
I totally blanked on it too.
That somebody submitted that was literally just gonna prank Erodeer for like ever. And I wrote that character in as the person who was like guarding the gate into the Feywild. And it was going to be like Ero would have to go through all these horrible, annoying tests to get through, to get everybody access into the Feywilds. And then you all died, and I need to rewrite that character into something else, and we'll see how that works out in the future. They will still be in it. I can't remember who submitted it. I moved. Once I use a Patreon NPC, I move them out of the folder, and it's probably lost in the campaign notes now. So, really long-winded way to answer, would it have worked? Let me see if I can find a question for one of you lot to answer so that I can intersplice my endless DM notes with questions for you lot. Because there are a few that came in.
I have one.
You have your list?
One just popped up in the chat that I thought was pretty interesting, and we can each answer it. And that
Go on
way you
then.
can. Okay. What part of your character do you identify with the most, and what part do you identify with the least for each player?
From Crastian 6.
Yeah.
Tiger.
Yeah. Because you get to answer twice.
This might sound really word I can't think of right now, but nothing.
Pretentious.
They're characters. They're characters that I had made up, that I am role playing. Like, I really like acting a lot. Like, I really love acting, and I love improv. I love them both a ton. So, like, even though it's improv to me, it's still acting, right? And I think that the best escape with acting and improv and even Twitch streaming and playing a character in D&D is that I don't really have to play myself in the slightest. Like, I don't have to be anything as to what I am. I've never done a character like that. Even in like all the GTA RP stuff I've ever done, a lot of the time it's just It's just I figure out an attitude for a character and I play it because, like, for a good example, I played a character that was a pissed off, angry mobster type guy, and there was almost nothing that connected me to that because I'm definitely not a pissed off, angry mobster type guy. And realistically, as far as like 19 was probably one of the like the big difference, like him and like Poo Poo Cakes when I originally played D&D for the first time with Brad, was that 19 Poo Poo Cakes was just a dick. 19 was just like a confused little boy, basically. So I was basically like, for the majority of the campaign until I got that ring, especially after I got that ring, I was just playing like a pretty confused, even after he was up in space. So I don't know if there'd be really anything, especially with 19. And as far as Oldest, definitely nothing, because Oldest was just a pompous. Am I pompous? Maybe there's like some. Maybe I'm lying about that one. I don't know. I don't really know. Nothing really for me. I'm acting, so I'm playing a character, so I'm completely not who I am anymore. I'm that character. So
What about you, Wack?
I think the confidence and cowardice aspect of Erodeer. I'm actually a really non-violent person in real life. I try really hard not to be violent unless I'm like being defensive or someone's forcing me to it. So I really empathize with that part of Eero, and kind of trying to find ways around being violent. And I also have this like contrasting self-consciousness and extreme confidence, and I can't explain it. I don't understand how it works, but it's kind of what happens with me. When I'm confident about something, I know I can do it. Like, I just know I can do it. And I'm also extremely self-conscious about certain things, and I'll get like really sort of I don't know, it's depressed isn't really the right word, but like I'll get like really anxious about it, maybe. I don't know.
Like, get your own in your own head about it, kind of.
Yeah. Like, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so it's just like a fear of failure kind of thing. I don't know. It's like I either know completely that I can do something, or I am like not sure about it. And if I'm not sure about it, then I'm like, well, why am I even doing that thing or whatever? So I empathize with probably those parts of Eero the most.
What about, what part do you identify least with, do you think?
I definitely have like some body dysmorphia, so like the ease of the comfort level with his own body, I guess, is probably the part that I identify with the least.
Eero was sort of objectively stunningly hot as well, right?
Yeah.
Like he's like beautiful looking, like Brad Pitt levels of hot. Not saying you're not, but also that's probably part of his confidence. What about you then, PB?
Brad's a very Brad, you guys everybody in here is very handsome. We're very attractive people.
Yeah,
you know.
Thank you, Tiger.
Speak for yourself.
Fuck you, Brad.
I think for Rin, I probably identified with this is gonna sound really weird, but sort of her surroundings when she was young. I probably identified with that the most. And as far as the least, she was very pragmatic, and that's very hard for me. I'm extremely emotional. I make very emotional decisions, and she didn't really. Everything she did was kind of just detached and logical. I wish I could do that, but I can't. So that's my answer.
All right.
Really sweet.
Yeah. We'll try and remember any that John can answer as well when he gets here. But for now, I think we should answer for him. What part of his character do you think he most identifies with? John to Drift. How do they seem similar to
Excitement level.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem like that. Yeah. Drift was into it. Whatever was happening, he was kind of into it regardless. And I think John can be like that.
Always very much like a roll with the punches and be happy no matter the situation kind of guy. It seems like.
Yeah. And least?
Wanting to suck someone's blood.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
But,
I
you
would
know,
say-
Wank
yeah, I
can't
mean, I would
cast
say that-
spells either, though.
Actually, I don't know. I think I've had some private conversations
He
with
is a
John. I don't know
YouTuber,
if
PB. I mean,
John
Oh,
might be
yeah.
a warlock.
enough.
Maybe that's how he got all those
Fair
Teslas.
enough, yeah.
All right. So, the next question, I have them in kind of chronological order. So just for the sake of time, I'll try and get to the ones that came in late. But one of the earliest questions I got from Sammy was, what exactly is Hasmol? This was way before the campaign ended, and now we know he was a phoenix. They're a little different though. The guardians of these gates, they're a little different. The next one in this same block of questions, he said, what is Darkfire? Darkfire is a demon. Technically, he's a demon, but he's like a little he's a little demon. So no one really got to this, like where Darkfire was and what he was doing. Originally, I was gonna have him as in the Shadowfell or somewhere where he couldn't get out, because I really wanted to explore the Feywilds, and the way that I set up the Feywilds is a little different. Whack, I think, is the only person who knows how the Feywilds work for me. In that one, the different courts, there was the Summer Court, and then outside of that was the Winter Court, and outside of that was the Shadowfell, because in traditional Forgotten Realms lore and things like that, they're supposed to be kind of flip and opposite each other, the Shadowfell and the Feywild somewhat. So I thought it would be cool if they kind of existed on the same plane. But it's all wishy-washy. It's not quite as simple as just like, oh, over there's Chicago and over there's Detroit, and, you know, that's just... It was a little more crazy. Originally, that was my plan. Later on, and I mean, like, pretty much like we were starting or we were in the campaign, I changed my mind as to what I wanted Darkfire to be. He actually ended up being a demon. Each of these places of power that the Ancient Magi had have a little Pokemon guarding them, basically. They each have their own little Pokemon. Because they were crazy. These Magi were kind of insanely covetous of their places of power and their homes. So they wouldn't sleep and stuff, but if they did, they wanted a really good guardian, someone who was linked to the place and would look after it, and also would protect their legacy and stuff.
That's why Noodle lives with you now, right?
He's the same. He's my Hasmol, yeah. The thing with them is that each one has like their own different thing going on, and each one thinks that their one is the best one. So the Magi that created the Gate of Fire, who I think was called Marpel Gend, had Hasmol, and he was like, it's genius. I'll have a phoenix, because then even if they kill it, it'll come back and carry on or whatever. The demon that protects the Nightstorm place of power is a demon that can adapt to any environment and survive in it. And so that's what Darkfire was. And originally, he's like a little... And I had an image, and maybe I can show it at some point, of this little demon who is... That's all he does. He's just able to adapt physically to survive in an environment. He gets trapped in like a time... Nothing. Just he's locked in time. He's not anywhere physically, but this time thing, just a prison that's outside of time, pretty much, so that nothing can get to him. No one can hurt him. No one can kill Darkfire, and Darkfire just sits there with a bracer on until someone figures out how to get him out. He's completely safe, and he's in this lockbox that this other Magi had put him in, and he's able to just sit there and get stronger and more powerful in this weird time thing. So by the time you guys almost let him out, or like the Praetoriator did, he's actually kind of super powerful, because he's been forced to survive in this unsurvivable place, that he's actually a really gigantic, enormous demon now, which is why I wanted the big hand.
Right now, you think he's fucking pissed?
Oh, you know he is. You know he is, but he's still there. He's still there, though.
God.
It's not over, really. He's still got his pursuit and everything. So, really, the answer, like, what are they? They're Pokemon. They're just little things that guard each of the gates. Each one is different. Not all of the places have something quite as straightforward as a phoenix or a demon guarding them. Maybe we'll explore that in the future. We'll see.
PB has a question, Brad.
Question, go.
In like one of the first episodes, I think the second episode, Hasmul said, when I asked what he looked like or who he was or where the door was, he was like, I don't know what you see right now. Can you just explain how that works?
Because he doesn't really have a physical form, really. He was just part of the gate. I don't know all of the answers to these things because I purposefully left a lot of things outside of my realm of knowledge because I want them to be alien. The ancient magi, I don't have a lot of answers on, by the way. Everyone's like, oh, it's these guys and it's this. I actually genuinely don't know a lot about them either because I want them to be alien, even to me. So that even when I'm trying to answer your questions, I would struggle. I don't want there to be any definitive answers for a lot of the stuff, especially with that first dungeon that you were in, because I wanted you to walk through it and be like, the same feeling as if you were in an alien spaceship. Nothing should have ever made sense. And it can't make sense, and it's almost impossible for you to find out.
I'm satisfied with that answer, thank you.
For that reason. So he, I just imagined him on like he's just in the walls. He's part of the gate, and he's just been there for years. He's part of the Flava. He's in everything, and he's shackled to it, and he was just there. To create a physical form of himself, I figured would be really difficult for him to do. And he wouldn't want to do it unless he really needed to. Ultimately, he did have to do that and got his ass kicked by Deathsinger in round 1. So that's kind of where I went with that. That was kind of my plan with him there. And yeah, he was working on feeling and echolocation or something. I don't know, like there's all different types of sight in D&D and I wanted it to be like that. But yeah, mostly it's just alien magic that we don't understand anymore. You guys don't in this. The era of Lacrin that I'm working with is very different to the one from eons ago. You know, that was the whole point. Let me see if I can find a question for you lot, because there's some good ones. There was one on YouTube that I thought was pretty good. Oh
man, the YouTube comments for the last episode broke my heart.
Yeah, it was nice.
Shout out to all of you on YouTube.
The support on this is weird. Is weird for me to deal with. I would never expect anyone to give a crap about our silly little D&D game, you know, like, and everyone's like, I don't know how to live without it, and also what the fuck was Hasmul? To Brad and Tiger from Wandering Ignorance.
Yes.
Would 19 have died if he wouldn't have taken another pursuit? Because he died before he got his first pursuit. Would he have died if he hadn't taken another pursuit? At the end?
Yeah, at the very end, I think, when he said yes and took it again.
No. He would. Oh, what? I mean, he would have died naturally like everyone else would have died. The thing with the Warforged is that when they become kindled, it's like the beginning of the last cycle of their life. 19 was dying the entire campaign, kind of. You wake up. The magic that holds them together is just like this borrowed life magic. They don't live too long. They're very, very much ripped off. I mean, inspired from the Black Mages in Final Fantasy IX. If anyone's played Final Fantasy IX, they have the Black Mages in that, and they're used to...
We talked about that at the very beginning before we did the show.
Yeah, They are just brought kind of to life, and some of them kind of wake up and go and start their own village, right? And I really love that, and it's always stuck with me. So that was kind of a huge inspiration for me on that. But they're all kind of dying of natural causes now. That life power that's holding them together was never supposed to be permanent. They aren't supposed to be these immortal things. They were just a means to an end. They were created to end the war. And once that no one really thought about what happens after that. They were just like, we need army, we're losing, and they managed to create these Warforged, and here they are. Once that war was won, it was like, well, what do we do with them now? Well, we've still got a good army, we'll just keep them around. And then they start to wake up, but actually that's them. That life force is just kind of, again, I wanted it to be kind of messy because it's ancient magi magic, kind of, and keeps them like they live for a moment truly before they die out. Like they burn bright and then they go. So that was the point of them. And I was hinting that a lot, especially when you met Heavy Tiger, when you were speaking to him.
Yeah. We were talking a lot about that, yeah.
He was saying, like, do you feel achy or creaky, or have you noticed that you're slowing down or anything? And you were like, no, not at all. And he was like, oh, right, because he is one of the first that kindled and woke up. So he was saying that a lot for that reason. It was my hint to you. Does the ring have any other consequences that didn't get revealed? No, but
okay.
But
you want to know what I thought?
It did do something else. If I
died, did I get brought back once?
Say that again.
If I died with that ring on, did I get brought back to life once?
No.
Because I thought that might be what it was. Because remember when we fought the orc, he
no, he was just so fucking strong he wouldn't die. He's just one of those like, I'm so angry I won't die yet type characters that I wanted. I guess I just gave him 2 rounds. He just had the Dark Souls pips. So you take
phase
one
2.
out. He had a phase 2.
Yeah.
It's a JRPG. That was called the Ring of Infinite Intellect. It gave you a 20 16 whiz and an 18 charisma. Bond. While bonded to the ring, you are able to cast Dominate Person on any other creature wearing the ring. The wearer must make the original save with disadvantage, and you may do this in infinite amount of times. That's right. You thought it was your ring. It was actually Deathsinger's ring the whole time. He bonds to it, attunes to it, takes it off, and gives it to someone else. It's still your ring, the first person that wore it. And then the second person that wears it thinks it's their ring. They still get the benefits of it. But actually, the wearer of the ring can create a bond with the ring, allowing the wearer to remove it. The next wearer of the ring is granted the other effects of the ring while not being able to create the bond, which is what happened to you.
So cool.
However, one thing that you didn't work out, or you didn't try, I don't think, was the evil Kamehameha, which is what I called it, which the orc did to you on a recharge of 6 while wearing the ring.
Oh, shut
The user can make an Arcana check, and on a 15 or higher, which is pretty easy to do for a 20 whiz, 20 int. On a 15 or higher, the user is able to cast a devastating line of necrotic damage, which is what the orc did to you a couple times. So you actually had like a big booming thing.
What?
Yeah, you I don't think you. I think there was a point when I think you were going to do it at the end of the second to last episode, like the penultimate one, and then you came up with some different ideas in that final fight. So that's what that ring did. It did have some other stuff, but the way it works is that it was designed to be worn by one and then put to the other. It's not a magi ring or anything, though. It's just a normal ring, by the way. And the ice place that was in the one shot that you guys did, where you went to get the ring in the first place, was not a place of power or anything. It was just a pretty normal. It's just a ring that someone made and threw away or whatever. I think that was what I wrote for it. But it's all it's all funky. It's got some strong stuff going on, but I think it was just a normal ring. I think.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I had a few ideas for how I wanted to handle Deathsinger in general.
Yeah.
When I did that fight, I had like 3 things. One was the polymorph. The other was counter charm, which I was gonna try and use like Eero thematically as being a bard encountering Deathsinger, and if we would have like a fucking sing off or whatever.
Shut up.
Yeah,
that would have been
sick. One of the reasons why Eero never sung.
Right.
Which that was gonna kind of be my plan. Like if he started to do that, the death song, if I would be able to do the counter charm to kind of like counteract it. Like if you were, I was wondering if you were going to allow me to do that.
I'll be honest, the death song was a bullshit move that I knew was a bullshit move and was just a bullshit DM move that I would never use on anything other than a one shot where I didn't care if your characters died, or the last episode. It really is just an ability that forcibly puts characters that are near it, and like I didn't even give it a distance or anything. I choose. who is suffering the effects of it to go on to death saves.
Gotcha.
So, but within that, I think I would definitely have, if you had done that thing, I think I would have allowed you to do something to try that, just because of how I run the game. If you, a lot of the time, I do leave things open. I think a lot of DMs write like, specifically, this is how to counter the which is fine, and also that's how, for the most part, most of the things in D&D work, like spells and stuff. And we get into that, and I'm happy to do that kind of stuff too. But I also sometimes just go, blah blah blah. I hope they get out of it. Just fucking leave it. Because I learned that lesson once by accident on Fractured Worlds, Tiger. If you remember when you guys were arrested and you were all locked in the Tiefling underground place. I forgot to write down how you get out of that. I just started the session and then I was like, you guys are all chained to the walls and oh god, I didn't write down how they get out. I went, how do you get out? And that was it. And you worked it out. I think it was actually you, because you were a goat and you were like, oh, my legs fit through the the shackle or whatever. And I think that was how you worked it out. But I was like, oh god. But I learned a good lesson there. PB. Spoilers over. Sorry. So yeah, just I think if you had tried something, I would have probably rolled something or something like that. But there was no mechanics to the ability really. It was just bullshit because I knew it was bullshit and I.
But it works on everybody, right?
It
so
works
the only
on
reason
everything
I
alive.
saw this in the Discord. The only reason he did it or was able to do it is because 19 banished himself. Otherwise, we would have had a finale without the Deathsong. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, one of the things that I knew about it is that he can't pick who it affects. It just doesn't affect him. But if anyone's near it, originally it was going to be if you could hear it, but actually by the end that wasn't the case for me. And what are you laughing at? What have you done?
You guys might want to take a look at Void Smoker's art on this Twitter real quick. There's a couple posts that he just made, and they're both really wonderful.
Well, here we are, just pausing everything to go onto Twitter and look at Void Smoker once again.
He did one of the hero stories before.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I'll try and show them. There'll be a point in the
trying to
break.
remember where the second picture's from, like what it is.
Oh no, that's the Goliath and the dwarf getting married.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's what I thought.
Tiger.
Yes.
Why did 19 go for the queen at all after how he reacted to her during his banishment? And also, I think that there's just a slightly. I think I can add to that.
Yes, please.
Because someone else asked just why you made that choice. I think. What was 19's motivation in not going with the party in the end? Is his need for knowledge more important than the bond with the party? And while you answer, I will flip the other cameras around.
What's up?
Welcome in.
I just left and then came back in. Right? That should fix it?
Yep. There we go. Carry on.
Yes.
So is the question basically why? Okay, so I just kind of preface this. So why did he make the choice to stay? And what was the other part of the question?
What was his motivation not going with the party in the end? And why did he go for the queen at all after he reacted to her during his banishment?
Oh, as in like why? Okay, so like kind of like why did he want to go find her?
I think just what was the motivations there at the end, yeah.
So
what were you thinking,
he didn't go with the party because he didn't go with the party, realistically. He didn't go with the party because one thing that he realized, you got to think about, like when he was out in space floating around, he had a lot of time to think. And you also have to remember, like, his relationship with the party, where it was good with a couple people, his relationship with one person, specifically Rin, was not good. It was not a good relationship for the most part. It wasn't bad, and he still cared about her, but there was a lot of distrust in between the two of them.
Sexual frustration.
And
entirely.
In retrospect, too, he was connected with everybody heavily, but you also have to remember that he was pretty much banished to like a plane of existence where he was just floated for what felt like years to him, probably. And when he came back, his big goal was, I have the opportunity to come back. I'm going to use my life for what I want, not for what the party wants, not for what anybody else wants. So That's why, like, I remember some people in chat saying when he first hit down and like everybody's like, holy shit, 19's back like the party was. He didn't give a shit about the party being there. He gave a shit about going up to the mountain and destroying everything that was evil in that place. He did not care about the people in the party. It's just that he had the realization that he wasn't there for the party. He was there to do what Hasmal's bidding was. And he realized that. And he also realized that the reason, so remember when he was like questioning if that was Hasmal in his head? The reason he was questioning if that was Hasmal in his head is because he wasn't sure if it was Darkfire or not. Yeah. And the reason he was worried about that was because he found a trust in Hasmal. And because he had that trust in Hasmal, he trusted Hasmal way more than he did Rin. And he trusted Hasmal with his life. And because of that, he felt that the best thing he could do with his life going forward and the rest of his life that he had, even though he had always consistently been some kind of slave or working for someone, he realized that working for someone like Hasmal that is so powerful is a good choice. Now, moving to the next part of that, he also, you have to remember that he just got that ring. That ring infinitely changed so many things about him. I mean, he became super intelligent. I mean, a 20 on intelligence is insane. So him having a 20 in intelligence and being that smart put him in this position where he's thinking way more clear. He's realizing what is more important to him. He's realizing that Hasmal has these great powers that he can give 19. And 19 definitely for sure, because of that ring, probably got a little bit of like an evil incarnation on him, you know? So he's thinking power equals, you know, respect and all that kind of stuff too. So he stays with Hasmal because he wants to be in that position where he can continue to live his life and continue to learn because he's curious. Also, the reason he wanted to go after the queen was because he wanted to find out exactly what he was and why he was and who he was and all of that kind of stuff. I'm trying to answer it as quick as I can so I don't take too much time. I hope that kind of did that answer.
I think so. I think so, yeah. In the same, I might as well just go down this list of questions.
Ask John a question.
John's in, just
John,
in time.
John, hello. Did you
Hello,
get a haircut?
John.
I'm muted. Hi. Hey, what's up? I did get a haircut. Yeah, a little bit ago. Thanks. You know, I'm no longer Drift, so I decided to just change up my whole look. And, you know, I'm retired now. I just bought my 1,000th Tesla, so.
We're just blitzing through
Musk.
questions. And one came in for you that says, how exactly did Drift survive as a child? Was he teleported away? Did he kill the attackers through the first hour?
He did nothing. Yeah. So when Drift was little, he was about to die. He was about to get stabbed. And what had happened was as he was about to be stabbed, he grabbed for his doll, this little doll that he had. And just as many kids do, they reach for their like their teddy bears or anything and say like, just like, help me, save me. But little did Drift know that this little thing became his everything. And it got him out of there. So it didn't teleport him. It just gave him like the willpower and the strength to get up, stop being scared. And as he was about to be stabbed, and he just watched his mom die and his dad die, and like literally all his village, the village around him die, he just got out of there. Like got up, was about to get stabbed, rolled away from it, ran through, closed the door on one of their heads. Get him! Jumped out of like the doorway, like everyone coming around him. Stop him! Ran straight through the forest, knew the path like around his house, and got out of there.
I can help you, Drift.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, classic warlock, really.
Yeah. And what I love is like Brad did not let me get away with just being a chill. Like I was just like, I want to be a warlock. That sounds fun.
I hate warlocks who just get to have power with no repercussions and aren't a haunted little like Raven Teen Titans type character. I'm like, dude, you're gonna be haunted. You're gonna have all these weird, horrible situations through this thing where you lose your mind.
Tell me that.
Blood. No.
Like all we talked, like I just told him I had this little doll. Like I just was like, that's something I want to bring with me. He's like, oh, perfect. I swear to you, like we never chatted about that at all. So like when he made the Drift doll, it made it like my thing, like that, you know, it was just insane. It was so cool that Brad did that.
I like to do that. The Next question is to Whack, but as your attorney, I'd say maybe because you've got some plans, you might not want to answer it. I don't know how you want to approach it. Whack, what's Eero's whole backstory with the Summer Queen, and why is he so afraid?
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff I'm not going to answer about Eero in general, because I'm always a big fan of where people's minds go when they start to go down that rabbit hole. You know, when they start to think about the possibilities of what went on. What I will say is kind of like re-emphasizing some stuff that was said during the campaign, which is Eero is the lover to the Summer Lady, not the Summer Queen. Technically,
yeah, I know, a couple of people made that mistake to
conflate the two. I didn't even realize that.
The Summer Lady is the daughter to the Summer Queen. Brad and I, are you okay if I explain a little bit as to how we like thought up the Feywild stuff?
Say whatever you want.
Okay. Brad and I, he basically came to me and he's like, listen, you're basically going to make up what's going on with the Fey here because of what you did. And I was like, okay. And we both talked about some of the things that we like and we've seen with the Fey and whatnot. And I'm a big fan of the Dresden Files in general. I love the Dresden Files, and I love Patrick Rothfuss and the Kingkiller Chronicles. And we kind of took like a little bit of both of those worlds when we thought up that stuff. And one of the things that really I find very like powerful and like understandable with the Dresden Files representation of the Fey courts is that neither is good and neither is bad. They're balanced. Like the Summer Court is very intense and passionate and emotional, sort of representative of summer. But it's also like scary intense. You know what I mean? Like it's also overly passionate and like very reactionary and like very intense. It's just very intense. And then the Winter Court always had this air of like cold, rational thought, which could come across as evil, but not necessarily evil. It's more like rational. What are we gonna? How do we approach the situation in a rational way? And it could just be like, okay, we need to use these people as pawns. That's the way that's the most rational. The least amount of people will die if we do it this way. You know, it's like that. That like really.
Is that where he learned his dominating kind of magic of controlling people and stuff?
I don't think I want to get into that.
Okay. All right.
I've dropped some hints as to Eero's feelings on that kind of thing, and I think that people will have to judge for themselves.
Yeah, I think one thing that I will say about when you guys almost went into that forest, it would for sure, like, I mean, it's a forest, but also there are access points to the Feywilds. In certain forests, it's more heightened than that one that you were heading towards. One of the things that I think I told you, PB, but I didn't tell anyone else, was that whatever emotion your character was going to be feeling as you stepped through that gate was going to be like tenfold. And it would be your driving emotion for the entire time you'd be in there. It'd almost be like a flaw or a bond or an ideal. One of these personality traits would suddenly be overwhelmed by whichever state you were in when you went in there.
What a disaster.
I just thought it'd be a really fun way and a twist on your characters at this point, because we were quite late into the campaign. I wanted to do something different. And it was based on that kind of thing. And I've sat and really thought about a lot more to do with the Feywilds, and then we never really ran it. But I'm not saying I won't, but yeah. Next question. What happened to Olds? Can we have a short cutscene on him? No. But if we get enough likes on this YouTube video, if we get 4 billion likes, maybe we'll do something in the future. Everyone.
I love that.
It's going to have to be pretty quick. What would each of the party do after they got to their home, do you think?
I will not answer that. That's one thing.
Neither will I.
I think that should be left open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I think like, you know, in a year or two, there could be another campaign where we all come back. So, you know, gotta wait. If
All
this
right.
gets 6 billion likes,
If this gets 6 billion likes on YouTube,
it'll be coming out next summer.
Season 2
God.
coming next summer. Brad, why
It's
did
a YouTube thing to do, dude.
I know.
Such just like the impossible
It's
amount
so
of
stupid.
likes.
I do it all the time. I
You
put
like
that
a
on.
soul meter.
Yeah.
So that we
Oh my God.
slowly decline.
I think I put like, if this YouTube gets 1 billion likes, I'll attack a man in a street when I did one video once. Why did Drift become a human-sized man? Because he wasn't really Drift. I kind of treated it a bit like in Dragon Ball when Piccolo would stop being Piccolo and he becomes the Namek, and they fuse into one person a lot, and it changes them a little bit, and physically it would have changed Drift. So when he took on the first, or the first was back, Drift was his vessel.
It was just
but he's
his body.
super powerful, and yeah, it just boosted him. It just grew him. He just was big.
And
What
it's
now?
crazy because like I feel like that like didn't mess up my character, but like messed up sort of like a lot of the feelings that I was feeling. Like towards the end, I wasn't as like, I must get vengeance for my family. I was so messed up from the vessel taking over and me leaving it and like getting away and then turning into a bat, and like there's a whole other story. Like, you know what I mean? It was like it lost that like my innocence.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah. And
Sort of at the end, I got it back, kinda, but never the same.
no, I don't think you should be. That's why you said when you like, you was like, am I small again? I was like, no, I don't think you are. I think you need that
Yeah.
change, like a scar almost. Like you learn from these things. And then to Brad PB, you said that everyone in Deathsinger's group was specialized in something. What was each member's specialty? Was Walter's bard that merchant with the mask? Was that girl a substitute for Rin? Why did she get told about the plan, or did she get involved last second? And how long did Deathsinger live in total, and why is obsession? So PB made a good portion of this campaign's driving story motivation I think you fleshed out an idea I had, and then
Yeah, we talked about it, and I said I was interested in doing the, redeemed cultist background, and then it was just like spitballing, and you're like, oh, this and that, and then
yeah. It was kind of hard to give you information and also hide the fact that I was going to be using it a lot more.
Oh, you didn't tell me at all at first. You were like, okay, go write this thing, and then I just happened to write you a fucking novel about.
Well, I knew that
it.
I wanted to have.
Now.
I was going to have multiple factions in the beginning. They ended up all being kind of controlled by one, even though there were still multiple factions. There was going to be the Praetorian, the Company of Masks, were the two main antagonists, the two separate leaders, as two separate villains throughout the entire thing. I found it easier to condense it into one, simplify it, because D&D is hard to run and convey. It's not a movie where people can find metaphors and twist things, and I can put complex stories in. I think simple stories are easier because it has to go from my brain to you via dice rolls and weird modulistic things, and then to an audience separately who have to digest it. So I think D&D is quite hard to digest if you make it over complex. Some of you can probably do it. I definitely can't. So I ended up condensing a lot of this stuff in, and Praetorian became a lot stronger than I originally intended for them to be. Each of the people in the end didn't. They each had their own thing. Stifle, the guy with the mask, is somebody that I have a little more information on. Because he's a merchant lord, and a powerful member of the Lenadelian Council, and he is well, if you want to see him, listen to our MP3, The Silver City, because he is in it very early on, and he's sitting up there. You have Athena. She was just in charge of. She was like. I tried to kind of see them as like a company, like I was like, well, who's in charge and then who's doing what? Because Deathsong is strong and intelligent and stuff, but he's not doing everything. And also I saw him as the type of person that would just disappear for years at a time, and because he had to train himself, or he'd have to go get a timestamp and go back in time and fight you all and stuff like that. So he just had a lot of powerful people in powerful positions. Athena was just in charge of the Praetorian movement in Rosegard. Jaguar submitted Zahare, who was the half-drow, as an NPC.
The cannibal.
And I needed someone, when you first got to Rosegard, to be continually stalking Rin. Because there was just no way she was going to get away with it. And actually, I rolled at first. They didn't know you were there. But I remember rolling very early on.
It was all planned. I loved that about what happened with Rin, that everyone was like, oh man, she's like this mastermind arranging all these things. And I'm like, dude, man, she's fucking on the run.
Yeah,
like,
she's on the run. And when you first arrived, I think you got caught by chance. I was rolling random. I was rolling a lot of random shit the whole time you were in Rosegard, for people looking out for you and the other group looking for 19. And you got caught pretty early on. And also you bought some stuff that was like hot goods, that the Praetorian would be like, well, there's only one reason someone's buying coal on our tab.
Oopsies.
And then, that was pretty much what happened there.
I did just pull up my notes for the beginning of this, and I think it's really funny because you sent me your aeons ago during the Age of the Magi, like just your little bit, because I had asked you for information on the world, and you sent me that, and my note just says, how cool would it be if there was a group of people that were trying to get those artifacts and bring this back? And I think that just like, that's where that whole came from.
Yeah. And then the Praetorian just became, well, I wanted a cult that were interested in doing some sort of world-ending bullshit, like bring back the Magi. And you came up with a cult that was really interested in ancient artifacts, and I was like, well, there they are. And I'll just, because I love integrating your characters into the main story. I think it's a fucking brilliant way to motivate
the
player
coolest
characters
by far
with your story if you're running something.
I think that's like the most fun type of show to be a part of.
I try and do it to the best of my ability. It's kind of hard sometimes. It's like, do I really early on I was like, I need to kind of figure out a way to forcibly send them to the Feywilds if I want Iro to have some hardcore hands-on backstory stuff, and that's not the intention with D&D. You're not really supposed to run it that way. Your background is just a thing to inform your character. You're just like, I'm a cleric and that's why I have the acolyte background, and that's it. But I like to use it for as much as I can.
But is this newer for you, Brad? Because Fractured Worlds wasn't as much like that at all.
No, it wasn't. The way that I ran this is really differently. But while I was doing Fractured Worlds, at the end of, or during Guardians, I was also running a show called Dustvale, which was an experiment show, where I was like, what happens if I spend one half of the campaign letting them do what they want, to build their characters, to see what they do in any situation, in a complete sandbox pretty much, with just a few little tidbits of story and narrative bullshit that I want to put in. And then the second half, I go, oh, there's the rail tracks, now you're playing my game, now you're on my story. Yeah. But you're going to do all of the things that I've planned, all the main story things, with the most informed characters ever. All of your decisions will make sense, and you're not just like, it says on my character sheet 7, so you start playing it properly. You did that with this
show too.
Yeah, it's exactly how I did it. Dustbow was my experiment to test that. Yeah. And this one I went into on purpose. Although the thing with Fractured Worlds is it was supposed to be it was a huge scale. So there's not much time for character development because you've got to travel around the whole of 2 worlds, was my initial intention. So
look at it.
So
she's back on watching it.
It's all right. So you had to build your characters as you were already on the fucking train and going. So that's kind of how this one went, and I'm glad I did it that way. I think it actually ended up working out perfectly for this campaign.
I have a question for you.
Go on then.
In the very beginning, and I don't think I want to talk about what it was that happened, but in the very beginning, you wanted my character in a certain emotional state for the start of the campaign. And Whack and I were talking about this the other night, and we think it actually really shaped kind of how things went. Did you know what you were doing when you did that? Did you have a specific reason why you wanted my character in that specific emotional and mental state, episode 1, because you specifically asked me for that. You were like, can we do this? And I was like, yeah, okay.
What was it?
Well,
Can you type
asked
it
for that.
All right.
Yeah.
If you don't want to say it.
Yeah.
Because it was a long time ago, and my brain is.
Yeah.
Ooh, the secrets
my
are
brain
coming
can't
out.
remember these.
Don't worry,
these
guys. I'll
things.
let you know what they type. Going to the restroom quick. Damn it. That was Tiger.
I don't know if I intentionally expected that to have like, if I had like a string theory
Okay.
where I was like, if it's this is the way it will go.
Yeah.
That was one of the defining moments that shaped the relationships of the group.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's why we were talking. We were like, Brad is a fucking mastermind.
I don't know. I mean, if I'm honest, I can't remember very well.
Is this like when you snapped the kobold's neck and you were like,
That was episode
was
1.
just-
Yeah. So I will just say he asked if I could be close, if I could have had something happen that day, that morning, to cause me to be close to a psychotic break.
I mean,
That's what he
I
asked me,
assume
and
I
I
had a
was like,
reason for it,
oh.
but I don't know if I like, it's definitely not something I can remember now.
really cool because
Yeah.
that did shape
It did.
like
And
you're like being a little away from the group and
Yeah.
me looking up to you hardcore and being like, this girl's crazy, but like this, I need to like, she's my big sister, kind of like she's gonna take care of me, mama. like
Honestly, I don't know. It's possible. I remember when I first started this, the first like couple months of it, I was in a
Yeah.
weird place IRL. I was like, I
Okay.
was super not with it. And I was struggling to run this in the beginning. I really enjoyed it, and I had done a lot of prep that really helped me to do it. And I've been GMing enough that I can kind of just do this with my eyes closed if I need to. But the first couple months of this were a bit weird for me because I was in a kind of a weird, odd place. I spoke about this to Zukoticus on his podcast like the other day, and there was a point where you were like, "Hey, Brad, this week's episode was really great." You were like really on it,
Yeah.
and like that was one of the first weeks where I felt kind of pretty normal mentally again, and I was like, and then you were like, "It's been so great recently, Brad," and I was like, "Yeah, because I'm not freaking out all the time." So weirdly enough, but also I think. It means that the beginning of this campaign, because I was thinking, a lot of these questions have been coming in, and I've been thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really remember even writing this thing down. And then someone's like, the motivation for the bit. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't remember because I
don't know if I did that. Yeah.
You normally
not
don't
that I
do
don't-
stuff like that. That's why I ask. And specifically, I remember being like, oh, like, okay. And you said, no, you don't have to, but I think it might turn out to be pretty cool if you were.
Mate, I mean, that
So it
sounds
made
like
it
I had a
seem like,
reason for it.
Yeah, you had a reason for it.
But I can't remember it. But then I don't always. I think sometimes I'm very, like these next couple of episodes focused. And so when we get to the end of it, I'm like, I remember my overall plans really well. I know what I wanted Deathsong to be doing. I knew where the Predator were moving.
Yeah.
I knew what the orcs were doing this whole time. I've been desperate for you to move and do this and get the orcs. But the little things to try and motivate you, I'm not too sure. We could go around this for days.
Anyway, yep.
How long did Deathsinger live in total, and why his obsession? I think he kind of explained that in the end. He just his original story. He was around like I think he was around during the first king's reign, when Rosegard was a little village. Deathsinger's somewhere around 600 years old, which is very old for an elf, especially in my setting. Elves are supposed to live to about 500. I don't really have them do that. I never really gave it like a hard, you don't live to 500 as an elf, but really they actually don't live that long. But he was a scholar. He was a very intelligent young man, and he befriended another very intelligent young man, Leotholdus, and the two of them just became very interested in what came before, because they were just were part of a society that was super fresh, and they were like, well, what came before us? And they looked into it and they worked it out, and they started writing books together. And he was already into it, and he was just obsessed beforehand in a very healthy way with what these magi were like. What were their powers? What could they do? Like, you all are, half of you people asking me questions in Discord, like, with the magi, would they do it? And I'm like, I don't know, man. But you're all interested in them, and so was he. And it was so cool that you were all interested in what eons ago. What were the magi doing? What was this? Because I'm like, you're all Deathsinger. All of you. You're all little Deathsingers waiting to be told by someone else. All you need is someone to go, oh, I can grant your wish for the thing. Darkfire wanted to give him the opportunity to meet a magi, to see the extent of what their world was like, and he just became more and more obsessed. And then one of the other reasons is that they killed him, and that I think that twisted him. The way I see it is he almost has his own sort of PTSD. He suffered a terrible trauma when he was very young, just after he'd discovered all of these things, just before it all went. Just after he got his pursuit, you lot kill him in the snow, and it was a tough time for him.
Oh my god, that was.
And then he was left in a desert for a year to fix himself and to work out what he wanted to do. And he just set himself on this task, and that's how I see him. He spent 1 year where he was like, I am going to become the person that does this thing. So there you go. That's how I saw him the entire time.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What would have happened if we would have killed him? You know how he was at 1
In,
HP?
Oh my god, yes.
How he was
Yeah.
like 1 HP or some shit? What would have happened?
You couldn't. That's its simple answer. 1 HP was how you did kill him. 1 HP was the minimum.
Next thing. It triggered the event. Yeah. Okay.
The thing with time is
Thank
that
you.
it's
You
too
can't change it.
it's too fucky. And as much as I love time travel personally, I'm a big fan of it, and I would love to run something that was just time travel stuff. It's very hard to do in D&D because there's too many variables. It's hard to write as a screenplay or a book or something without leaving endless plot holes and paradoxes. So with that, I knew that the way that you either defeat him down to activate cutscene, Final Fantasy style, where he basically it was when you get him to like minus 10 HP, his next thing is to do the time stop spell and then fuck off, because you can't do shit against time stop pretty much apart from a counter spell, and I don't think you had it.
What level is that? It's an old 9, isn't it?
It's a fucking it's his big bullshit move. He actually doesn't have that as a spell. That was actually part of the time travel bullshit he had going on. So you did win. There was only a win option and a lose option, and you activated the win option. And then the lose option was that you all die.
They sort of slit his throat too.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that it would. You kicked the fuck out of him. I thought he was gonna. I thought he was gonna run you over. And yeah, you just ruined him. But yeah, there's times when I'm like, well, I'm not a fan of doing it as a DM, but there are times when I'm like, there's just nothing. It will ruin the entire campaign if I try and come up with a paradox here and try and deal with it. I'm sure there are ways around it, and people more intelligent than me can do it. But I knew that was the win condition. Whack from Piranha Plant, our head inquisitor, who basically guessed all of these things that we're answering questions for. You said Eero. You said Eero has been one of your favorite characters to play. How has he been different than other characters you've played before?
I think a lot of it is mechanics. It's a combination of mechanics for the bard in general, as well as empathizing with a lot of the way that I played Eero. I guess like a lot of the characters that I made through the years all have like little parts of my personality kind of peppered through them. But I think that Eero probably had the closest to a lot of my personality in general. A bit more confident in his body, and like a little bit more flamboyant than me. But yeah, I think in general, he had a lot of the traits that I think I have. I don't know. It was just it was a different character to play. I went from a non-violent perspective with the character. So it was just like, okay, how am I going to get out of this fight? Was how I generally started any situation with Eero. Like if he was about to get into a fight, how am I going to get out of it?
Awesome.
How does it feel sitting in the passenger seat for once in a longer running campaign?
Good.
I mean, you're predominantly known as a GM.
Yeah,
even before you were on Tablestory, you were running your own.
Is this the
shows
longest you've been in a
constantly.
passenger seat?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, one of the reasons I became a DM was because, and this isn't really to poo-poo the DMs that I had, because some of them are great people and whatnot, but they were, I think like I'm such like a control freak that I have to kind of run things the way that I want to run them. And if I see people doing like their own way of DMing and it's not really my thing, then I just kind of like I got to do it this way, fuck it, nobody's gonna do it, I better do it, like I get into that mindset. So I've just been a DM so much because I wanted to run things a certain way because I'm a control freak, and I feel like a lot of the good DMs are. It's just like you have this really specific way that you want to do things. And
how many times, you can be honest, did you want to strangle me?
As you being the DM?
Yeah.
None.
All right.
Woo, that's good.
Yeah.
You passed.
I mean, are there situations where I would have done stuff differently? Yeah, probably. But like, there wasn't a time where I was just like, fuck you, Brad. Like I would, like, me, I would tell you.
Oh yeah, I know. I knew there was no like fuck you times. There was a point when Eero was dead, when I was looking at him like he's gonna kill me.
I remember after that episode.
Yeah, but
he's like, I hate when DMs just kill you and don't give you a chance, like no option. Like
it was a purposeful misdirection and a lot of bullshit.
I talked to Brad after that though, and I was like, I knew you were gonna do something. I was like, I'm also very patient, so like I will just wait to make sure before I blow up that it is justified in my head. Like, okay.
We
just hold it back.
John.
Yeah.
Was there any aspect of Drift that you felt you didn't get to explore or dive deeper into? These are still from Piranha Plant. From someone else, I'll shout it out.
You know what? I think for me, what I want to get better at in my next D&D is it wasn't Drift. It was like me and my time and like spending time on, I felt like the character was good. Everything was good. I loved Drift, but I felt like I didn't choose some of the correct options as far as like playing him. Cause I do feel like Drift sort of fell off. I felt like I wasn't comboing him correctly. Like
you mean in the character sheet? Cause there were people discussing that in the
I know, I saw all those discussions.
Yeah.
Like choosing Hexblade Warlock, but then there was apparently some what's it called? Not spells, but cantrips that I could have.
Well, the invocations as well. The way you took, most people take Agonizing Blast, which means that you add a charisma bonus to your Eldritch Blast.
Yeah.
Whereas you took the push and pull options, both of them.
Push and pull options, and
which
then
were very useful in several situations. Honestly,
was super fun, and I knew I wanted to do like that scorpion type thing or the push. But I feel like Drift, like the only thing like I would have loved to have like gone on and done is like for, I don't even know if I ever said it, but like Drift was raised by gnomes. He was adopted. Yeah, he never knew his real family.
You said it a few times.
He was, I might have said it. So he was raised by gnomes. So I would have loved to, like, Leslie and Otto were his parents' names. And like, I would have loved to have talked about that a little more, or like just, like talked about just his experiences with the gnomes.
Yeah.
And just, that, because that's what he know. And never, I don't think even once, actually I brought him up, but I never said his name. Fibu is my gnome. He was like my sensei. He was my everything. He's the one who taught me how to fight and trained me and like taught me everything in this gnome village. So Brad and I had talked about maybe like leaving him alive. So if I ever ran into him or something, would be really cool. But that was one thing I would have really liked to have seen.
Yeah, I think the backstory that we explored with you was with the first and not with your IRL stuff.
Yeah, which I love, which I think is
it's
more
so much easier for me to get in.
Better for me, different for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like very easy to go like the Hallmark Channel Lifetime movie about my family and what I had to endure and stuff like that. But like doing this side was way cooler.
What was going through Drift's mind when he realized he himself set his own awakening in motion by calling out to the first after drinking the dragon blood in the frozen wastes?
Holy shit, what? Say it again?
You, in the past, in the snow, drank the blood of the dragon and then activated the first, who was at that point in Darkvale. It's like 2 continents over. And he sensed you. And he sensed himself. And he didn't know what the fuck was going on in you. And he was like, I'm coming to find you.
Ready for this? You ready for this? I just realized that right now because you told me. That's me. That's me as a person. Holy shit, that's amazing. Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
That's amazing.
Time paradoxy thing that I lost my shit over. I was like,
what? When did we talk about this?
What do you think he was calling? He was calling you up like, "Yo, who are you?"
I remember he called me, but I didn't remember that happened right after I drank that blood of the dragon.
And he was like, "Who are you?" And you were like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
I thought you were just role playing it out because time.
No, dude, listen.
Didn't know we were trapped in time.
John, like me, I'm very street smart, but such book. Like I'm just like I'm not illiterate, but like I'm just like I don't
know that
go that extra. I'm a very like, what's up, like. A lot of charisma, but not a lot of intelligence. Like, you know what I mean?
So, I know exactly what you mean.
Awesome.
I've just watched a lot of TV. There you go. That's nothing.
Cool.
Nothing was going through Drift's mind.
So you saved your own life in a way. Yeah, you sent him after you.
And what happens if I didn't drink the dragon blood?
Yeah. See, what ifs?
And there's the paradox.
Tiger.
Amazing.
Let's see. Given that 19 and oldest were shards of you in a way, did you get to walk in their shoes long enough to get a favorite? Is this just Sophie's choice here?
You know, I think I really genuinely like both of them evenly. Even though I played oldest for a short period of time, I really loved that character. Ask Brad about some of the backstory we worked up for him with his family and stuff like that. Like, oh my God, like the backstory we worked up with his family in Lennondale and like all that shit was so beautiful. And they were both respectively really, so 19 didn't really know his past, right? Oldest did.
Yeah.
Which allows me to really enjoy both characters. You have the mystery of 19, you have the knowledge of oldest, but you have them. I mean, they were very separate characters too. Like they were very different. Like 19 and oldest were nowhere near the same character.
I remember,
which was something that was really important for me.
Just to bring this up, Tiger, if you're cool with it, but like Tiger called me and was so, because. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Can I tell this, Brad, Tiger? Is this okay?
I don't mind.
I don't know what you're telling.
Brad gave Tiger the option.
Oh, right. Yeah. You can tell.
To bring oldest back or 19.
Yeah.
And Tiger chose. And like he called me and was like, not distraught, but just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I'm loving oldest so much. Like I'm enjoying him and like he's like just starting to like get his foot in the door. He's starting to break through some of these characters and like, but like 19's like this, like has already created this like feeling that I think a lot of people like.
100% for the people watching.
For the people. Yeah.
So
yep. And that's what I was saying.
I mean, choosing 19 was dope. I would have chose him potentially either way, but it was 50-50. Both. I'm not lying. You can ask Brad. I asked Brad if I could play both characters. I'm not.
He went back and forth for days, and I was like, I hate to push you on this, Tiger, but I have to get the overlay and stuff sorted out. You have to pick one, and I have to plan for which one it is so I can justify how to get in. And he was like, yeah, I'll get you an answer, and then he'd go for another existential crisis, like I don't know which one to get. And then I think you went. It was tough. It was, and obviously it was.
So hard.
It is hard,
great though.
especially
It
when
was a
you're
good
not
choice.
finished with a character and you have to potentially let go of one.
Lily. Sorry,
I mean,
Yeah,
in the long
Lily.
run-
just came
in
out.
the long run, I think I made a good choice. I think both would have been fine. I think bringing oldest would have been great. I think bringing 19 would have been great. I just think that the majority of the fans that watch the show would have much rather seen 19 back. And
I agree.
as much as this is for us, you know, like this is for us, we're playing D&D together and having fun. This is a show. This is a show that we are producing for you, that we are making for you, and that we are enjoying ourselves. But there is also choices like that that come in to make me go, okay, well, what would the fans of this show like to see more? Would they like to see more of oldest, or would they like to see more of 19? Most people are going to say both, but in retrospect, more people are going to want the character that they saw from the beginning.
And I just felt like 19 could do his character arc. Someone
You
said
get
it in
more
the chat.
closure,
Like,
kinda,
Oldest
yeah.
was like, there wasn't time. I felt like there wasn't for Oldest to like really develop and you get to know everything about him and fall in love with him or hate him. Like
the
whatever.
whole thing we did
I mean,
at
there
the
was no
beginning.
time. There was no
The
time.
whole
Yeah, it was
point of
already.
the
We were
beginning
already
half.
on our like music starting to blare and like dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun.
yeah, yeah.
Like, the
You were in
final
the end game.
chapters
You
were
were,
coming.
you were really in those. Yeah. Again, it was my half of the game. I see it. I see.
Yeah.
Like you guys have a half where you were sandboxing. My half, not where I'm telling you what you do, and there's no script or nothing. But it was like I was pushing you towards my narrative, or you were gone. You were on that train. So it's hard to explore a character, and that's kind of what we said earlier on.
Plus, who knows? Maybe you'll see oldest again.
Yeah,
someday.
maybe you will.
Maybe you'll see 19 again
Oh,
someday.
you won't. Unfortunately, he was eaten by a white dragon. He wasn't. I don't know.
That's how you tell
I have
it.
no idea what happened to him. There's so many questions that are like, what happened to? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know either, because we'll never know. Maybe it's just the end of the game. John and Tiger. I almost don't want to ask this question. How much would you say Brad has improved as a GM, given you've both played under him before?
Worse.
Yeah,
Way worse.
way worse.
Yeah, downhill. No, like I was saying, I didn't see what he was talking about the Fracture World. I felt by the end of Fracture Worlds, I was like, I'm glad the show's over. It was really long, but really good. But like, I'm glad it's over. Like, it was one of those things where like I wanted it to end a couple months earlier. Like it felt like it was dragging on a little. But
Yeah.
this show, I'm like, I want to play more. Like, let's keep going. But like Brad was like, no, now like it just end episode 49, 50. Like it was perfect. I don't know. He's getting better and better, and it freaks me out.
Brad's very
Literally,
good.
he's
GMing.
so
He's
good.
a little bit of a narcissist, so he doesn't think he's good at anything, but he's very, 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 very good at GMing. And I would say between Fractured Worlds and now, and without getting his head bigger than it already can't get, because it can't get big because he's a narcissist, is that
You talking about Brad?
he's good at what he does. He's enjoyable.
Yeah, but
He's
he doesn't know how good he is.
No, I think he knows how good he is. I think he's just won't admit it because it's hard for his brain to let him admit it.
Here's something that I actually spoke to Zacotocus again the other day about. The weird thing about GMing is that I don't see anything. When I'm playing, I can see chat and I can get feedback and I can kind of speak to the other players and stuff. But when I'm GMing, I don't really see anything because I'm spinning too many plates. So I come out of a lot of episodes with complete imposter syndrome. Like, I that was awful. And everyone's like, that was the best, man. I'm like, I don't remember what happened. And I'm like, oh God, what have I done? Like, I don't really know. And again, I don't feel like I do anything amazing. I truly think that, like, if you just gave me 4 people who sucked at being players, then I wouldn't be able to like lift them up to that point. Like, it's like I see it completely as a team effort. Like, this show was not good because of me at all in my head. I'm like, I barely did anything. I feel like all I did was just facilitate you guys through something that you did. And I was there like, yeah, there's a thing over there, and oh, you need this stick for that, and there's that thing. And I'm just a lens for that kind of thing.
That, yeah.
So I don't always.
But I like that. Like, that's what I mean. Like, for me, like, I love the idea of a GM or a DM who is, whatever happens. If I want to jump off a ledge in that moment, I can do it. If I want to go down, like, there's a lot of, I feel like I see a lot of GMs who they want their story told exactly how they worked so hard, so many hours, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours. Brad, if I decide not to go down that hallway that he put 10 hours in, and I just jump over to the side down this, no problem. It's not even like a motion of like, well, are you sure, guys? Like, because like really, you think
still
about
land
this.
in the
I
other
love it.
corridor.
Just like, okay, great, yeah, no problem.
Say,
So you
Brad,
jump
am I
off the
about
side
to
and
destroy the campaign? And he'd be like, I don't care. Do whatever you
it's
want.
so cool. And that, like, for a player is like the coolest feeling in the world, because you really do feel like you're in.
I think there's only 2 times I did that in this whole campaign, and one of them was just when you couldn't really kill Deathsinger because it would create too much a paradox that would potentially ruin the whole thing anyway. And the other one was just the final episode where I was like, yeah, the Deathsong, and there's all these kind of versions of an ending. But like that was it, really. I feel like there was a lot of.
I still, even in the end, was.
I thought that
like,
I was worried that when you failed your pursuit and lost the braces, you wouldn't do anything that I wanted you to do, and you'd just go and do something else, and we'd end up doing like Rose Guard Part 2, where you just go and fuck around. I was like, this is what's going to happen. They're not going to do the thing.
Saving the world.
And like in the corner, the world is going to end,
again.
and you guys would all be knocking about, hunting down Teltral Bloodgrip.
I think that's a really interesting point in general, that a lot of GMs and DMs have issues with that, letting go of their 100% stay true to the story kind of philosophy, because it's a group story. It's not just one person's story. It's a group story. And I think one of the reasons that GMs are good at that are like able to just kind of say, okay, even though I made this cool stuff, they're not using it, is because they love the process of creation. They actually just love to make that stuff. That in itself is an extremely fun aspect of this process. I fucking love doing that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite parts of the campaign is like before it even starts, where it's just like, oh my God, I have so many ideas. Like, and I'll create all these ideas. Or like somebody has this crazy backstory thing that they want to work on, and we go down that route, like it's this.
And that's why I know I don't want to be a GM. Truly. I don't care about that. I love improv. I love just thinking on top of my head, but like, I don't like planning anything. Like, I don't want to think about.
You can kind of GM
There's
in that
games for that, by the way, John.
Yeah, you really could.
I'll play those. I'll GM those.
A lot of the Apocalypse World stuff.
I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people approach it differently, and I kind of try and approach each game differently. I know that I have the meme where I just rip off a new Final Fantasy every time, which is generally kind of still true with every campaign ever. But I still kind of approach it differently to the best of my ability. You're probably going to see that with Dying Order, because I feel like I'm just undoing all of the, like, everyone's like, Darkfire was like the perfect way to GM a campaign. I'm like, yep, and I'm going to try and remove all those foundations and structures and lessons that I've learned and do something different. Kinda, we'll see. But I think, like, for me, I am very much like that. I like my story. I have that control issue, and I like to tell it, and I still had a story in here, and I managed to do my part, play my character, which was my story, and you're always playing in my world, which is my other character, kind of. And but like, I don't put too much stock into my story anymore.
It was fucking great.
I feel like I go in there with, and I'm like, there's not enough here. But then I also know that you guys can fill the blank areas. You can fill the rest of it out with your stories and what you do. And half of the story is just the journey. More than half, actually. I think probably about 75% of it is just the journey and what happens in all the moments between my little, oh, here's a book to read that gives you some of the story, or here's a final boss fight in a thing. I don't know how much of this game was even my story. It was motivated by it a lot. But I don't care about it anymore that much. I'm way more interested in the journey. But I'm also just like, I feel like sometimes if it doesn't have a central main story arc to follow, it's just kind of all over the place, and it's no fun to watch either. I think from a show perspective, I think it needs to have a central driving story. So that is all I think about. I really only think at the beginning and the end. In the middle, I'm like, let's see where they go. They're gonna go left or right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I haven't improved at all. All right, let's see. PB.
Yes.
Piranha Plant says, oddly enough, I've learned most of Rin, even though she's been perceived as the most secretive. But is there a fragment of her character still unknown to us that might be a shocker?
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh, come on. PB, give us something. Oh, come on,
All right.
PB. A little, can we get like just something that will make Piranha like, ooh, like just start like give him a little zap.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I can tell you something.
Got you. I got you. Piranha, I got you, homie.
I can tell you a little bit about Rin, like the name Rin, the honor stone, is actually a mark that Rin had in Green Hill. That's it.
Last one to everyone. Did any of you know that you all had powerful blood lineage when the first dropped the bomb?
No. Not a clue.
Nope.
Includes 19.
No.
There you go. Noodle Leith asked the question, what was the monkey thing that they found in the snow that wasn't actually a monkey? I know he really wants this one answered.
It was a Pokemon Mankey.
It was a Pokemon Mankey. It was a monkey spelt with a U with an umlaut. Honestly, my original intention was that it was a baby Yeti. But I don't think it is anymore. Like that's the thing with D&D is like I will write stuff down with things, but that was my original.
I'll tell you what that was. That was Brad not able to find a list of stuff to like pick from in like that specific moment, and it's the first fucking thing that popped into his head.
Well, I think so. If I remember correctly, a Yeti was one of the random encounter things. And that's, I think, maybe where I got it from. Like, it was possible for you to encounter a Yeti. Instead, you guys rolled for 2 dragons, basically. That's what happened there. It was insane. But on my random encounter list, I think there was a Yeti. And yeah, I mean, it probably was somewhere in there where I just went, yeah, there's a baby Yeti in front of you. Because, you know, it all seems like I've planned everything. But a good GM would never plan 100% of their thing. And nope. I just go, yeah, there's in front of you, there's a monkey. And then that's what's happening now. And even I'm like, oh, God, why did I say that?
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, Brad, I would say it would be a 9. But if we would have ran into those Cyclopses, the 3 of them earlier.
Oh, God, we would have died.
I think we would have died.
Remember
Cyclopses.
I mean, I put stuff in there now that you aren't supposed to be able to defeat. Yeah, there was
like
just before you got to Rose Garden.
Oh yeah.
That
was going back.
There is stuff in there that here's the difference between Fractured Worlds and this is that in Fractured Worlds you were scaling Final Fantasy style, so the game scaled with you so that everything was defeatable by you. In my head I was like, well, it's how you defeat it, how you approach the things. Some things were really fucking hard. Some things. Do you remember the fight? There was an elemental based fight, just to not spoil anything, where you guys you just couldn't work it out because it wasn't, you know, like a thing that you could do. And
that was crazy.
It was how you do it. Now I don't do that. It's completely different now. So I will put shit in front of a group that they cannot defeat by just hacking away at it, because I want you to think around if they were next to you and you definitely cannot win. How else can you get out of it? You have so many more tools at your disposal in the game.
As old as you just keep on running, keep running.
Than just being able to Eldritch Blast and cast spells and fight and stab things. You are also able to use all of your other skills and should be able to use all your other skills to do other things. So I put stuff in that you cannot defeat sometimes with the intention of you figuring out another way out of it. The dragon was not one, by the way. That mummy dragon, if you had all 3 of you just gone, fuck it, and just fought it, I think you could have burst it down.
To be fair, though, we were in a situation where we couldn't really see it. We couldn't see each other. and it attacked me first.
Yeah.
Which was kind of like a trifecta of bad.
Yeah.
Like most of these situations that we got into as a party, if I go down, like that was so bad for the group, and it was usually like a okay, we lose kind of moment, unless
with the dragon, I was like, oh, this is
randomly
bad because I randomly rolled for a blizzard, and then you randomly rolled a D4 or something to head north.
I thought it was its
then,
lair, honestly, just considering it was.
I can't remember, but I just know that it was like 3 bad rolls, and I was like, oh, well, now I'm gonna have to be the asshole who puts a giant dragon in front of them. But technically, I don't think you guys would. In the back of my head, and this is the GM back of my head, when I'm a player, I don't ever think like this either, but the GM part of me was like, well, they are dragon slayers. They know how to defeat a dragon now, in character, so it wouldn't feel like meta. You spread out, and you burst the thing down. And that's how you defeat a dragon, really, in D&D, because you stand together, you're fucked. The breath weapon is way too strong.
Yeah.
And, but you didn't.
The lack of sight was what really hurt us.
But it was tense as well. Like, the other side of me is like, well, it's intense, and that sometimes is needed, even if it's not enjoyable necessarily.
There, like, just running, like that's the last you see of Oldest.
Yeah,
it's kind of awesome. Yeah,
character, like such a good character who, like, we're getting to know, and like he just ran, and we have no idea what happened after that.
Can I say something about that though?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Without giving too much away, even though there's not really much to give away, is like thing that a lot of people I don't think realize with him running is like. Firstly, the first encounters with you guys with him were awful. He was treated like shit. But it makes sense.
Whose fault was that?
No. But that's what I'm saying. Is like it makes sense though, right? So like to him, he's just like, there's a huge fucking dragon about to eat all of us, and I have the opportunity to get the fuck away.
Yeah.
Like he owed no one in that party anything.
Yeah.
Nah, he was done. Yeah.
He owed no one
It's
anything in that party.
yeah, it's hard sometimes to role play, because I think a lot of D&D groups don't always justify their decisions on what their character would do. They go, because I think a lot of people play D&D like they're playing what's that game you love, XCOM. You know, they look at the grid and they go, well, what can my character do here? The best way to min-max this situation. Almost all of our campaigns on Tablestory are very character driven, which is sometimes difficult, and I'm not sure if it's really calculated into the balance of D&D 5e generally, that every decision will be made in character and not made with any sort of out of character tactical planning. We very rarely do that, which does increase, I think, a lot the encounter danger for a lot of these encounters. I generally find that I make you guys stronger than you should be, and then when you die, it's your fault. I'm like, well, you had a buster sword, and you have vampire powers and extra pyromancy skills or whatever, and I'm like, I feel like I'm okay to just throw shit at you. But that one was definitely hard, the dragon. But that one also, I was like, well, I rolled for all this shit, and that makes me feel less guilty when it eats you all. I also kind of knew you had a 1-up, you know.
You know what else is kind of great? Just getting this out there is that there was not enough time for people to really understand who Oldest was. So like somebody in the chat said, but he said he would fight for the whole group. Is Oldest a liar?
Yeah.
Like,
Truly.
The next, so there's a couple of questions that I don't want to answer. Several people asked me about what would happen if Drift had met with Muriel.
I'm so curious about that.
Who is
I would
Muriel?
also like to know.
Stuff like that. I think the only thing I'll tell you about if Drift would have met with Muriel is that it would have brought forward a lot of the revelations that I think we got anyway. Just to do with like who the first is and things like that. She is not a warlock like you are.
I'm very curious who the first is.
But she exists on his power as well to a degree. And so did Walter the Red. He was a warlock just like you were.
Yeah.
You were unknowing rivals.
So would he have tried to kill me if he got me down on there?
Walter?
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Oh my God! Thank God.
There can be only one.
Really interesting.
There can be only one.
Yeah.
But Muriel was not. Muriel was not in that rivalry. She was more of a PA. And yeah, that was the plan.
Holy
there.
shit. So Brad, if I, just for fun, you don't have to say yes or no, but if I chose not to kill Walter, would he have still came after me? Because there could be only one?
I don't think directly immediately. I think he would have been in that fight at the end. He would have been one of the
Oh my God.
One of the guys there. Yeah.
Thank you for making it easier for us.
Annoying.
Raiden asked, that was from Sithis. Raiden asked, how is the Scribe of Time chosen? I'm not going to tell you. How exactly did the first come to be? Is he just an old vampire? No. Which makes him the first. I feel like he's slightly homebrewed. He is very homebrewed. Does it make him Cain, like the first vampire? No, he's not a vampire. He is not a vampire. That's not what he is. The vampires don't exist. There was a point where it was almost Drift was almost the first ever vampire.
Yeah.
But I guess he's not.
I would have gone that. Yeah.
And we spoke about it a little offline, how cool that would be as a situation. But again, I like to see how things work out.
Improv in the roleplay.
Someone else becomes the first still exists. You didn't kill him. You didn't. He's not gone anywhere. All you did was purge him from Drift. And at some point along the way, something happens to do with the first, and maybe another patron or something like that creates the first vampire. And then later on, I ran another show called Dust Veil, and a lot of people have drawn conclusions, and I'm not going to say anything spoilery about that, but there are vampires in that, and they exist in the world at that time, and Dust Veil is set 1,000 years after Darkfire is, and so the first still either gets his wish or does something to create vampires in
and
the
also
in the
what you
future.
never truly know, and I thought about this a lot is when I was over, is we're all, Rin, me, Drift, Eero, all of us are still together, and we had much more time together to become a family and to really many more adventures. And I always had like this thought of like, what if right when I got to where I was, I walk in and there's the Drift doll, like just sitting there. Like, it's not over. Dun, dun, dun. Like, what if there's more opportunities that the first wants to connect with Drift again? Because I'm still his one, even though a god set me free from that, or like whatever.
And what does that even mean?
What does that mean, really? Did he do anything?
There's
like, he maybe
got
me out of that moment, but not
like,
my pack.
Even really prefer.
So I was like, oh shit, what?
I don't know. I don't know either.
I don't either.
So, and I don't know if we'll ever know, but that is there.
One thing I feel like is just something random that I thought of the other day. When I was giving everybody sort of like their final introductions.
I love that. My favorite. One of my favorites.
God, so good.
I gave Drift one that was Shadow Sword, and I realized like he doesn't have his powers anymore. Eero probably would have thought of that like after the fact, and would have probably bought you a black sword or something along those.
Awesome.
Yeah. I imagine that Drift
just know
is...
that I love that you bought me a griffin. Anyways, sorry.
Drift is like
I thought that would have sealed the deal with you coming with us.
Nah, but it seals the deal for fucking him doing a lot of cool shit.
Drift is like a level 8 fighter now or something, probably. That's what he'd end up being. Ricardo asked, what would the party have found if they went to the mountains in the snow? You would have encountered Hasmol, and you would have found past Hasmol and gone into the Gate of Fire in the past, and he would have been like, what the fuck is going on? And then
that's so cool.
He would have, and then together you might have figured out a way.
Oh, that would have been a lot of Hasmol's place. We would have been in there for a while. And
I think I would have preferred the
forest
one. Yeah, if we were gonna.
And that's where we were going.
Yeah, you would have had a whole other,
like super pumped.
whole other thing going on.
We were all very sad when we died. Yeah.
There are only a couple of ways that you can bounce around time, but it is possible. Did Walter make a bargain for power with the first? Yeah, he had a very, very similar story to Drift. It was the same thing, and I think I said it in the game somewhere that he had like a caravan that his family were traveling with, and they got hit during the war. They got hit his family were killed by invading Alexandrians, the enemy, and in that time he called out and asked for help as well, and something answered. So it was a very similar story, I think. Walter and Drift are just very different. Walter is way more like
pompous,
egotistical and narcissistic, and so he wasn't fighting for a purpose necessarily, but he did have he had a drive in him that I kind of that allowed him to. He was a survivalist kind of.
Drift was just a kid, man.
What happened to the mouth on Drift's hand? I just couldn't be bothered with it.
You said though in the episode that it would disappear after a couple hours.
In my head, it just
then it was underwater.
The spell ran out, and it was. I'm not micromanaging that forever. I am not an enormous fan of sentient weapons and things. I know everyone loves them, but just for me to run, I like them if I get one. Like in Ragtags, I had one for ages, and it was hysterical, and I love it. But for me to run it, it's just another thing that I can't be bothered to deal with sometimes. So I don't actively go out of my way to do it. So I was like, well, this is fun for now, but to have a sentient weapon or a hand that was separately sentient to you would be just annoying for me to think about. Because again, you forget about it, and then someone asks about it, and then I get annoyed that I didn't remember it. Most of the other questions, I think, were just like, tell us Eero's backstory, for fuck's sake. And Wacker said no. Let me just check. I just want to check that I hit all the ones that I wanted to answer. Jaguar asked, what's the political landscape in Rosegard by the end of the campaign?
Ooh.
To be honest, it's very similar. The whole point of the war at the end was that the city was under siege by the Company of Masks, which were owned by the Praetoriator, and they were just distracting all of the army that were nearby from interfering with their work at the mountain. They weren't sure what was going to go on at the Gate of Fire, so they had to make sure that the strong arm of the law was distracted. But other than that, I don't think much changes, because you guys saved the day. There wasn't really anything. The king and the people of Rosegard don't really know what you did, I don't think. I don't see why they would. What the Blood Grip's doing, probably still just being awful. What are Tari and the Kersharian doing? Still trying to be the good, awful assassin types. King Wilmar, does he go on an adventure? I think he does. I don't know. The reason I purposefully gave him the smile during the battle was that he finally felt alive, so that was why I gave him that little scene. He's been fed up his whole life. And did the Inquisition ever take steps against the Blood Crypts because of the killings on the farm? I don't know. I assume they would have tried. It's the Inquisition are quite a small group, and they don't have a good strong arm, is how I played them. Otherwise, they would just be owning everything. So I think I will move on to the questions from today in the chat.
Yeah, good.
Definitely.
The first one was, is 19 a deity now? From Legan's Life. No, he's not. I don't know why you would think that. He's just still 19 with another pursuit. Like, he just has to do stuff. Do you know other creatures with pursuits? Those little fire newts that you fought at the beginning with the milky eyes?
Yeah.
You know, there's little pursuits that you can do where it's just, you know, we'll extend your life. His life was extended by the mask. 19 has a mask now that will extend his life a significant amount, but I don't think it would make him. Definitely won't make him live forever. It gave Deathsinger maybe an extra 200 years max. So for 19, it might buy him another 20, something like that. It depends how long.
Can I ask a quick question on this line?
Yeah.
Just to 19, which I was curious about. Tiger, what changed in 19 besides like being in space? Maybe just if that was it, I understand. Where, like, because I remember 19 got so excited about the idea of there being other of his kind and living on that island or that place.
Yep.
Where was the change where it was like, now I want more power, and I want more, like you had any wish you could have had. So you could have had the wish of being on that island. What was the change? Where do you think it happened?
The power stuff definitely came from the ring.
Okay.
And being intelligent.
Right.
But him being in space, a lot of the things that changed while he was out in space was that, I mean, like, imagine that you are in solitary confinement for a week.
Right.
That's not a week to you. That's probably like, that feels like months, right? So he's out there in space, often battling off these fucking weird shadow figure things, and he's got nothing but time to think. He's also got those books he had, Noma Sutra. It's one of those things where, like, the entire time he's out there, he has nothing to do but think. I mean, think about how often he probably thought of you, Rin, Eero, thought about how much you wanted to kill the Blood Grips, thought about how he'd never get to see you guys again, but never kill the Blood Grips, then let go of the fact that he'd never see you again, then let go of the fact he'd never kill the Blood Grips, and then suddenly came back, got permission basically to come back, and then he realizes when he gets back that even though you guys are all great and he loves all, especially you, Drift, like the character obviously had a very big, strong bond with Drift.
Yeah.
Because of the 19 thing, there's also the reality of him making the realization that it doesn't matter how much he loves you guys. It doesn't matter how much he loves anything, because everything that he loves doesn't matter. He has.
Oh my God, that's the absolute opposite to where Rin's brain went. That's amazing.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I hope that answered it for the most part.
Yeah, it did.
Very cool.
Another
creative.
one
Very
kind
cool.
of along the same line from Christian. If Olds and 19 would meet, would they get along?
I think so. Yeah. I think they would.
All right.
I
Jaguar.
couldn't say that about a lot of characters, but I would say that they'd probably get along. They'd probably get along mainly because Oldest would probably be before pre-ring. Oldest probably would have been able to get 19 to do whatever he wanted because he was so cunning. Post-ring, 19 would probably be, Oldest would probably be like, I want this dude on my side, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Jaguar said, what was the talking floating skull the first time the party was in the Gate of Fire? That was literally a demi-lich, or whatever they're called. Is that what they're called? It was literally one that didn't have any memories, and you could have gone and spoken to him. He was designed to be terrifying as a token on the map, so that you go, fuck that, I'm not going near it, and then actually would have helped you out. And he also he could help you so that the Gate of Fire actually had a bunch of random secret doors and things, and there was a bunch of random items and stuff in there that you that he would have helped you find if you would have helped him.
It's so terrifying being like a low level character.
Oh yeah,
because one enemy crits you and you're basically down. Like until you're level 3 or so, you're just like a walking piece of paper.
It's awful.
And yeah. I mean, anybody can just carry
we
you
proved
out.
that episode 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was the point. It was just there to scare you. But in fact, it was kind of
That was one
confused.
of those moments that me, Wax Steven, knew what it was.
Yeah.
And Eero was also just plain terrified of it, that he wasn't going to go anywhere near that thing.
Right.
So I was like, oh, awesome. They align. Good.
Yeah. For sure. And that's kind of the point of it to a degree. It was to see if you would have the courage to overcome that, or if you were stupid enough to just walk up to it and see how that played out. I didn't have anything solid written down other than that there were some things. NMF1 says, are Solomon and the First connected? If yes, how are they connected? They are not. That's the end of that question. I'm not going into it too much because it's all spoilery. Ryder DHD, who were the desert guys at the end of the last episode? They are known as the Ancients. They aren't in Dustvale, but answers about them are. So if you want those answers, unfortunately, you have to watch the entirety of Dustvale.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's why some people were freaking out.
Yeah,
There's
there's
a couple in the chat who were like, oh my god.
It's my whole
Yeah.
thing where I'm desperate to keep these as separate individual things that you can
I love
watch
it.
in any order, but also have some crossover stuff for people who have watched the whole thing. And it's, it's also hard not to have crossover because it's in the same world. So some people are like, oh my god, Thelmecia? That's from the last one. You just know it. Dustvale, that's the name of the last campaign. That's what you sound like, chat. suck it up. Kipling Senpai says, Brad, you seem to like ending campaigns in a very open manner. What's your reason behind doing it this way instead of having a clear-cut end to the story? I think this one was a lot more clear-cut, but I am a fan of ambiguous endings, because, I mean, we're doing it right now, but I agree with Whack in a lot of ways. D&D is not a TV show. It's not a movie. It's not supposed to tie up loose ends, I don't think. I think you'd go crazy trying to do it because there's just way too many variables where you're rolling dice to see stuff or we're improvising things, and it's just like, I mean, how many questions tonight have been, Brad, what about this? And I went, I don't know. You know, like, there's a lot of stuff I do have answers for. There's a shit ton of stuff that I've written down that will probably never see the light of day, that only I know, and that's just how it is. But I like ambiguous endings because, one, it feels like it's not over. You don't need to have an ending. The adventure still carries on. We saw a glimpse of these characters' lives. We didn't see anything before, and we didn't see anything after the part we saw, but there is more, and you can explore that yourself. And D&D is in our heads. We're all just sitting around like kids making it up and playing make-believe, and we've invented the whole thing together, regardless of who did what part. It was all just, all of it happened in our heads. Everyone sees Zero differently in their heads. Everyone sees what happened with the first differently in their heads. The environments that I described, the things that your characters did that you described. And I don't see why you can't just carry on doing that for yourselves if you want. And that option is open to you with ambiguous endings. Although I think this one was wrapped up pretty neatly, considering how much I'm very willing to end a campaign ambiguously, and I've done it several times previously.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
5 years from now, we come back, we make a spoof.
It's a reality show.
It's just me going, where are they now?
It's a talking
Let's
head.
see.
Just everyone's fat. Just
Like,
all
it's
of
like
us.
they were all child actors, and now they're
Yeah, Salas D says, was the mask that 19 got the Mask of Life? I'll give you some info on the masks because they're not a big deal because they're very Darkfire localized info. They were known as the 5 runes of the Magi, the Thelmecian runes. The Grand Aeon seal was more just where Darkfire was locked in. That's what that was.
Deathsong was almost a Magi, wasn't he?
Who?
Deathsong was almost a Magi, wasn't he? Because of those runes.
He was close. He had just figured out ways to he was the leading brain on everything Magi. He might still be 2,000 years in the future the person who knows the most ever about them. There was the rune of Nindstorm. Yeah, go on.
After hearing that, I feel like you should really read that Lightbringer series, Brad.
Yeah, and a couple of people suggested things to me like, oh, is he based on this character? And I was like, no, but that's cool as shit, and now I want to steal it for my next villain. There was Nightstorm Life Flow, and that was the mask you had, the Mask of Life Flow. There's Star Blood, Wind Spirit, and Deathsong. And each one does different things. Do you want to know what they do?
I do, and also I have a question.
All right.
I want to know how he got the Deathsong. Will we ever know that?
I think you can imagine that each of these runes, these places of power, have their own bullshit thing. A gauntlet you have to go through. And you guys went through one of them, Nightstorm.
One.
And it was a trial, and it's supposed to be unbelievably difficult. And each one is different. Each one is a very different experience. I think Deathsong is probably unbelievably harrowing. I think it makes Nightstorm look like a fucking day at Disneyland. Mm-hmm. The rune of Deathsong is underneath Blackpoint in a cavern which is below the ocean, which is very similar to Nightstorm as well.
What?
And Blackpoint is where you've lived forever, and that's where it is. And
Shut up!
It's why he
See
based
how
himself
exciting
there.
it is when you hear things you didn't know?
shot.
It's great. It's the best.
Fine.
Obviously that one. So the Deathsong mask, obviously it allows you to do the Deathsong. The Wind Spirit mask allows you to fly. The Starblood mask allows the power of teleportation via basically like a large gate spell, which is also an answer to how the Company of Masks are moving around, and the Rose Guard people can't find them. They're able to teleport in huge batches and squads and platoons.
That's awesome.
I'm actually very curious where all the rest of the Company of Masks went. Like what city they burned down.
Yeah, and what happened to Praeterita after fucking Deathsinger died?
I'm afraid I don't even know.
Okay, all right. I don't want to. That's a big
The life flow mask is regeneration, but it also extends your life passively. And then Nightstorm allows communication with everyone or anyone that you know. You know that.
I feel like this like whole thing was over so fast. Or, like when we talk about it, I'm like, oh, that chunk. It felt like 5 different things to make up this show, like 5 like mini series kind of things. It's crazy. It's wild.
Legan's Life said, how did Captain Ward Buckler end up in the Tournament of Roseguard? Captain Ward Buckler ends up in everything everywhere. He's just he's a meme of mine at this point, where he shows up in things if and when. He's like a Sliders time traveler type, whose life he quantum leaps into new lives. Sometimes he dies, sometimes he's born in these worlds, and it's all very wishy-washy. And I don't know how he ended up in the Tournament of Roseguard. He was an Easter egg. There's some things are just Easter eggs, and I don't justify them. I just go, yep, he's there. But he is a captain, and he always ends up in some soldier role or militaristic role. So I imagine that regardless of how he ended up here, he for sure was part of the Rose Guard military. And I think probably he just, in Game of Thrones, they did those like tourneys where even the guards would take place. And I think maybe he was just put in that same way. Kota Clan says, where do babies come from? I have no idea. Does anyone? I don't know. Is it stork or something?
Stork.
Oh. Okay, there you go. Birds deliver them. Shy baby, will we see olds again? I will never say. Rainbow can rock. For Wax Steven, what do you like most about Eero?
I love Eero.
I kind of feel like I answered this already partially. I think that I made him to be a storyteller. He's a GM. He's straight up like a GM kind of person. I think if he could have, he would have invented like role-playing games in this setting.
Maybe he did.
Mazes and monsters. Crastian 6 was the what part of your character do you identify with? We did that. We answered for you, John. Pro Scream.
Wait, what'd you answer? What was the answer?
We said that he's sort of excitable and he's always like happy to be doing the thing, even if it was.
I mean, Drift wasn't too different from me, really. Drift was just like young me.
Yeah.
With his thing. I wanted to do that so bad because I'd done Clutch. It was like Southern, did a Kika, did like Manny, which was like a Hispanic character. Like I've done. I've always done like a voice or like a little something different. And I wanted to just try playing a character that was like,
just a bit like,
hey, talk like you talk. And like, just I also like, it's good for
with a smile,
other
right?
D&D players out there to know you don't have to have a different accent or voice. I would say it makes certain aspects easier to really divide, but like, don't be scared to play D&D if you want to do your normal voice, just take on the attributes of the characters.
Yeah.
When you pick those lines out that says you're a very talky person who asks a lot of questions. There you go. Now it's just you with like a little more, more questions.
You don't even half the time you don't even need to role play. I don't think if you're unsure, you can just say, I want to approach this person and say this with a smile, and then you say the thing.
Yeah, there we go.
I would 100% accept
first
it as
step.
a GM. Pro Scream says, did Hasmul changing forms to animals have anything to do with random encounters that could have happened? No, it was him trying to make himself relatable, honestly, to you guys.
I thought so, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I was so fascinated
he
with
didn't
that.
know what you were, but he knows what stuff out there looks like. So he was trying to shift and change, and he was just, as he was attuning himself to you and figuring out what's going on. The thing with Hasmul, like, you guys treated him like he was this all-knowing, omnipresent deity, but he really wasn't. He's a middle manager who is trying to. He's very neutral, and he is doing a job. Like he's like a dude sat there, and he's like, "This is my job. This is what I do." And yeah, he tries to do his job effectively.
Who was above Hasmul?
Well, the magi that bound him to the gate.
Yeah.
His
name was? No, I'm kidding.
I would assume that there's a
there you go. I know his name.
Good magi, I assume, right? Is that what I kind of assume, Brad? There's like evil and good magi?
Yeah. So here's some weird shit for you, because a lot of people were like, oh, blah blah's a magi and this is a magi. I'll be honest, I'm not sure we'll ever see magi. I'm still gonna run another campaign called Dying Order in Lacrin. But I don't have any intention of bringing like a magi come storming in, because I just don't want them. Even the information that I wrote for myself is people around Lacrin pulling together information. So they're like, we think they did this. They moved from place to place hunting for power. There were types of them that would stay and make these big fortresses and homes over these important points, and there are those of them that would move around and range and go out and then try and attack those points and take them for themselves. I think they're very warring. I think they're very they're power hungry as a race, just a general race. But I would imagine there are good ones and bad ones. I don't know. And I don't want to. I don't want to either. I like them being kind of ambiguous to me. Because, look, I made Lacrin up, and I can make up now if you want everything I want to make up, but I don't really see it like that. It's not entirely my world, really. So I'm okay with it, and it helps me to go, yep, I don't know. They might have done this, and this must have done that, but it was all different then. My version, I took over after them. I came in with everyone else. So, yeah, there you go. Is old master himself who aged through the time shift from Legan's life.
Holy shit.
That'd be fucking sick.
That is so fucking cool.
We'll see. Fucking Wank hates time travel stuff, but the rest of us are like, we'll see. Shy Baby 83. What was everyone's favorite and least favorite thing about each character? I guess we'll do your own character.
Okay.
Because it will be here all night. There's about 45 different answers in there.
Say it again, the question.
We'll go with Wank first. Your favorite and least favorite thing. Quick fire round. We sort of done this.
I already did the favorite thing. The least favorite thing about Eero. God, I don't usually think this way.
Yeah, it's weird.
Can anyone answer?
Is it like our least favorite, like John's least favorite thing about
I think so, yeah.
Drift? Or
yeah.
is it like...
I would imagine
cool.
that was the
Least
intention.
favorite thing about Eero is probably what had to happen to him to make him who he is.
Same. I will say that same answer for Rin. Like,
You could probably all answer that. It's probably
horrific,
good.
yeah.
One of the best themes for me to explore, and I noticed very early on, was that all of you came from bondage, from being, shackled or manacled to something, but not physically necessarily. Freed from that for a second, and then thrown straight back into that same position, but with a different, So... yeah, maybe that. All right, we'll move on. Missile Monkey says, will we see references to these and Dustvale characters in Dying Order? I don't want to do any hard crossover stuff because I just think it's unfair for anyone who might watch Dying Order first and then want to go back. Imagine if you wanted to watch this, but you knew everything that happened in it because you watched some other thing. They're not sequels to each other at all. I don't want them to be. So any hard referencing to any characters in this I try and avoid. I'm not saying it will or it won't happen. Again, I'm not screenwriting Dying Order. I'm preparing something.
Don't make NPCs of us.
We'll see how it goes. If you make an NPC of these guys, I will change it, and it will not be the case because I don't think it's worth doing, and I think it's very spoilery for anyone who might want to watch them in any order. I want them all to be able to be watched in any order. So if there is references to them, it will be silly little Easter eggs and nothing. Like 19 isn't going to waltz in and be like, you don't understand, man. I've been through the wars. I'm 2,000 years old. Like, it's just not going to happen because I think it's unfair for anyone who comes in and watches them separately. D&D is too long for that kind of stuff. If this was a 13 episode TV show where I could be nice and concise and things, it would just be season 3. This would have been season 2 of another thing and whatever, but it's not. So I'm sure there'll be Easter eggs. I'm sure there'll be things here and there, but I'm not planning on any hard referencing because I just don't think it's fair. Shinto Kitsune. I know that usually that the characters played, I can't read or you can't write. I think my brain's going. I know that usually that the characters played have nothing to do with each player's traits, but is there anything that each of you and characters have in common? Did we kind of answer that? I don't know.
I think we did a little bit.
Yeah. It was the second that threw me there. I'm sorry, Shinto, but I think we kind of answered your question at the beginning. Shy Baby says, what drawed everyone to the characters and such that they decided on?
Ooh.
Is there any one thing that drew each of you in? Start with Whack.
Why?
I'm going around the Zoom call on the screen for you lot. It's different, but in the Zoom call, it goes Whack, Tiger, John, Pumpkinberry. So that's why I'm doing it in that order.
All right. So I'm sorry. Say it again.
What drew you to your character?
Yeah. Is there anything that drew you to the character or
again? I feel like I kind of answered this a little bit.
Direct reason for you to have made it.
I wanted to. So I rolled for some stuff for like personality traits, and then I took it another level further, which was like, I really wanted to play a character that was focused on illusion and whatnot. So that was my first thought when I made Eero. I was like, I'd like to play like like everybody. I always see like these min-max things online. Like if you play a bard, you should definitely do lore.
Right,
if you play a mage, don't try and do damage. If you try and play that, you know what I mean? I hate that shit. It's so minuscule. I mean, I don't want to. I hate hating on people for like wanting to min max. If you like to do that, go for it. For me, it's not right. I like to play a character that going to have fun playing every week, and I guess the same thing goes with min maxers. But I'm playing for the role play. I like doing weird stuff in a fight. I don't like just trying to roll and hit a number. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of boring. Like I like having a lot of different options. So I focused the character around illusion and then cowardice.
Right. Anything for you, Tiger? Any reason you wanted to, I guess with 19 in first to be like, I want to be a cleric with the.
I just want to play a big ass Warforged.
Yeah. And we had spoken about it a long time before that as well.
Yeah. I like playing obscure characters. I like playing things, I don't want to just play a human. I don't want to play an elf. I don't want to play a dwarf. I especially don't want to play a dwarf. I just want to play characters that are unique in the fact that maybe they're not something you'll see as often. And I want to play a character that has some good diversity that you could enjoy. And 19... I think Brad can attest for this. One of the biggest things that was cool about 19 is we both know going into it that he wasn't going to know shit. We were going to roll this character as somebody that is kindled or as in becomes sentient. And doing that allows for a really cool story. It allows for cool backstory. It allows for all of that. And The reason I leaned towards playing the character the way that I did was because I wanted to play a character that it would keep everybody guessing, even myself and even Brad, honestly. Because when we were doing those rolls for if I hit a 20, Brad's making that shit up on the spot.
Yeah, I had to. It was really weird and difficult.
It wasn't planned out, We weren't just like, we're gonna roll tomorrow. We're gonna roll a crit perception check, and this is gonna be the story for it. It's like
you were like, why do I have this ability? And I was like, oh, I guess it's because you got eyes. And then we were like, it's fun for me. Anything for you, John?
For me, originally, I was going to, when I was making the character, I was gonna do a really pompous, Drift was supposed to be like very like thinks he's the best, thinks he's the shit. And then Brad was like,
you did have a voice for him as
no
well,
problem.
like, right.
But just so you know, we have someone else in the cast who's playing that a little bit.
The Wack had already made.
Like, and then I was like,
Eero.
okay. Yeah, it was Eero. I was gonna be like a very Eero type character. And then from there, I was just like, okay, what if he has like a lot of the thoughts that someone who's pompous would have, but like is super young and nice? And that's like where I was like, all right, this is gonna be great. This is not how I was originally planning. And it got cool when I could be a little more pompous, when I became this like sort of stronger, more evil kind of character and a little more douchey kind of into myself.
Yeah, it made sense as well. You're like drunk on power a little bit, and I was playing with that on my side of it. What about you, PB?
I think I originally, I knew I wanted to play a class I hadn't had a chance to play before. And so I was intrigued by the monk. And I'm sort of the reverse of what Tiger said. I like to fill. I like to party fill. Like if we're missing something, I'm more intrigued to just kind of like, okay. And I like to be absolutely as boring as possible and then let the story make me interesting. But it just didn't work out that way with Rin's backstory. Ended up being pretty intrinsic to everything. Which
also it was like everyone had a mysterious background to a degree, but yours was placed in front of everyone, and it became everyone was like, oh, that background is mysterious. Eero's was way more mysterious.
Yeah.
At the end, it still is. Yet you part of your backstory was almost as if you had mysterious background, whereas Eero doesn't. He doesn't have a mysterious background. We didn't explore it, and he never brought it up too much. Whereas I think yours was like purposefully mysterious to a degree, and that's why people were like, well, why? And everyone was really like hyper focused on it for a long time. And it's kind of cool because again, I think it tied in. Your backstory tied in with the main story a little heavier than some of the others. I mean, Drifts did as well. I think you getting that final kill on Deathsinger was very apt, but if Drift had got it, it would also have made sense. Yeah. Because he was the reason that Drift's family were murdered and whatever. But intrinsically, Rin was more directly involved, and it was, it was good.
I did have. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was going to say I did have an answer for another question that was like, what was your favorite part of the character? And I think mine is actually the satisfaction that I got, because it was really hard for me to play Rin in the beginning because I'm a very emotional person. So to play somebody super pragmatic and just like with this crazy cultish backstory was very difficult. And we talk about there was a lot of like Rin hate on YouTube and stuff like that, which I took as like, okay, I'm doing a really good job. But at the end, like some of you have left really amazing comments about how like the satisfaction of seeing Rin change so slowly over time. That makes me feel really good. So that's my favorite part of Rin, was her slow progression into who she was.
It's really cool to have a full character arc in something like D&D. Because you can write that into stuff. You can have the hero's journey or whatever, but it's fucking hard to pull out of D&D. And I think we did that with pretty much everyone's character, really, which is fucking cool. From my nerdy screenplay writing side of my brain.
Yeah.
Legan's Life says, what is the Drift Doll? I think you answered already. I think we did, but essentially, so the thing with the Drift Dolls is 3 of them. That's what got confusing in the end. There were 3 by the end of it. There was the original doll that Drift had in his pocket that no one knew about, and then became immediately confusing when he suddenly had another one because of some bullshit that happened. So he had his original doll, which he mentioned that he had, that was his doll from his childhood that he kind of was a focus for the first originally. And it was just this horrible little doll, right? Just a disgusting little thing.
Just such a voodoo looking, like, one of those shitty dolls that like you hold on to your whole life because that was like what you cuddled when you were 2 months old. Like no one, you know.
Yeah, and
I was never 2 months old.
Then there was the second doll, which came from the boxes, and I can't remember what they were called. I called them something very specific, but those boxes were very much like, I knew what they were. They were a bit like what the Magi used in.
Is that what I slept in?
Yeah, there's the magical chest boxes that produce.
You got stuck and slept in a box that locked.
Yeah, remember I could have died, and I could still be in there right now, and I would have had to re-roll after the first episode. Yeah, that would have been
great. The boxes were kind of like those things in Star Trek where they just need something and they just type it in and it materializes the thing that you need. If you think hard enough and you know how to use the box, you could have materialized some like armor of invulnerability from it, but there was no way you could have known. And that's kind of a replicator, that's what they're called. And they were a bit like that. That's kind of their intention. If you just open one at random, that's why we always rolled on a table to see what random item you got from it, and each of you got something weird. He slept in it.
I will say that the random rolls this campaign were amazing. Sorry, Brad.
Yeah, I'm such a fan of randomizing things.
So fun.
It's why I love D&D to a degree. The random causation effect stuff, chaos theory, it's just great to me. I love it. But yeah, the replicator thing. He slept in one. He slept in a replicator. It's insane. And so when you open it again, what's going to be in there? And at the time, it made loads of sense to me. I can't remember if it does now. But basically, it tried to create another one of him. And he had a little doll in his pocket. And it tried to create another one of him. And it made this horrible doll. And there was nothing weird about it. Everyone was like, oh, it's going to come back again. And a whole campaign, I'm like, it's literally just a doll with like straw and like nothing.
I love that you brought it back though, sort of.
Nothing weird. Yeah, they used it against you.
Yeah.
Rainbow Camrock, can we have more about the past of Eero?
Jesus.
It's the most asked question, I think, here. It's crazy.
Yeah, because it was the most mysterious. I get it. I'm trying to think what I can say that won't ruin the stories that people have worked out in their heads already. So, okay.
You're going to open a can of worms and say one more thing, and then it's going to be 10 more questions off of it, but go for it anyway.
Yeah.
No. You can give us one more thing.
I mean, I have a question.
What's your question?
McKinnon or your lady, what's going on here?
Okay, so this one I've actually been thinking about a lot. I've been waffling back and forth if I want to answer this, because I know that there was a bunch of people that asked.
Yeah, I'm really curious.
You're welcome, chat.
Just want to waffle.
So I think I will answer this because Eero said when Eero did these titles for people, they were really important. Eero is from the Fey Glen. Names have power to him. So when he did this was like almost binding these names to people in his head. And if there was a way for him to imbue magic into these words, he would have. And he's a bard. And I don't know how far Brad would take that, but he's the lover of the summer lady. He doesn't understand monogamy because where he comes from, it doesn't exist.
Heard that.
So it's a difficult concept for him to realize. I don't think he would acknowledge it as a thing with McKinnon. So it'd kind of be whatever happens. But he's still the lover to the summer lady.
Yeah.
I
I once loved the summer lady.
We spoke a little bit about that at the end of last week's episode or at some point during the week, because I wanted to do some wrap-up stuff for each of you, and I gave you all a little thing. I was like, oh, these people approach and stuff. And I purposefully didn't have McKinnon walking down the mountainside with her arms open towards Hero, because I knew. And I was like, I don't think I want to pick something like that even at the end. Because I don't know either. Sithis. Wasn't Darkfire freed when they entered his prison? If so, what did the party do to free him besides touching the mirror? No, he wasn't. You did break... You broke a seal. You broke the Grand Aeon seal, which is the first and largest seal on... And then the Praetoritor went away and did the rest. So when you arrived at the end there, they had broken the remaining seals to allow him to break free. The only other thing he had to do, and this I think is a question as well that someone asked, when 19 was in the fire, the next thing Deathsinger was going to ask you was, or command you to do, was get in the fire and then open the gate. That was the next command, open the gate. And that would have been it. That would have been what it took. So what you actually did, you didn't free him. And I think a lot of you thought you did in and out of character. But actually you didn't know. And also the Nightstorm thing wasn't and again, another thing I don't know because it's all bullshit magi magic. But it didn't really happen physically to you. I think a lot of everything that happened in the Nightstorm temple was in your head somewhat. Or you were projecting it, or it was being projected onto you. That's why one of the first things I said was that your AC is based on your whiz now. Because that's almost always what we use in D&D to determine, like, mental defense from mental attacks or magical attacks and things like that. The Nightstorm, you access it. You physically go down there and you swim into it. But then when there's that weird tunnel, as you're swimming down into the thing, things get wibbly wobbly and stop being entirely a physical thing, which is why things like Eero can die and just be back. And, the mirrors, it was more about your choices, and it was more about surviving these attacks on your mind. That's why Leotholdus went crazy and Deathsinger made it out, and he never did. Maybe you wouldn't have come out physically, there's kind of like with what happened with 19 necessarily, but although you physically enter... It's not really entirely a physical thing after that. It's very much to do with sanity. And I wanted that to be the case. And your HP and your things were all returning to you and stuff because it wasn't real, really. It was more about sanity than it was about physical things you were interacting with and doing.
Right.
And that was what that whole thing was about. I really like that dungeon, but even I don't understand how it works fully. But I do know that it wasn't entirely to do with that. So when you freed him, you didn't free him. That was not all it took. It was way more than that. But you broke the seal that his magi put on him to keep him safe, so that he could then bring his magi back.
I would like to point out that Eero still had that debuff from that dungeon the entire rest of the show.
So did 19.
Yeah.
I had a -1 to my deception, intimidation, performance, persuasion rolls.
Yeah. Rough. The way that worked out as well, because they were rolls on like a D100 or something that we rolled for your... Because all you could do, you couldn't really die. I know 19 died, but he didn't even. It was more how badly you come out of it in the end. What damage do you take mentally? It was a PTSD dungeon. It really wasn't a type of dungeon where you were supposed to die necessarily. You chose to sacrifice yourself, and that led to a semi-death, which was a failed pursuit, which meant that I have
a question.
Yeah, go on.
I want to let you finish that first, but once you're finished, yell at me. I got to ask you a question. I don't want to interrupt that because I know you're trying to finish.
Well, the next question kind of rolls off of that one. Essentially, Mr. Womble said that with the rings you were wearing, if you died, your soul would be trapped inside the ring. 19 got crushed in the underwater dungeon. Did a version of his soul get trapped inside the ring? 19 didn't technically die then. Just before he passed over to die, he was snatched up by a Hasmol and gone, no, you don't get away that easy. You failed me. And he flung him into another dimension because that was the fail of pursuit, and you would get sent somewhere else. So it was like he got to counterspell your counterspell. Go on, what was your question?
I got a fun hypothesis / question. So when we met with Darkfire, he asked us to join him. We had the choice to join him. I had all these thoughts in my head about when we join him, how cool that would be, because I love the idea of going to the dark side. But I'm going to go ahead and guess that what it would have been is us trying to open the fucking gate for him.
Yeah, you would have gone dark side 100%, and you would have joined
Well, that's what I'm saying is, would we have just been trying to open the gate for him? And if so, and if that's all we were doing, who had been trying to stop us?
All of your friends along the way. The Kersharians, the King, the Rose Guard Army, the McKinnon. And,
we would have fought all of them.
Yeah, McKinnon and Stonesworn, Heavy.
They would have kicked our ass, guys. Did you see how much damage they did?
It would have been all of them, but you would have had the orcs on your side. You would have had Deathsinger.
The big
you would
orc.
have had the Praetorian. You would have had a very different experience. Your braces,
orc,
your braces would have turned black, and like Deathsingers would have gone all obsidian and cracked.
Goth girl, dude. We would have Goth girl on our side.
Well, and I remember, and I don't know if you go back on the
Stubbies over
VODs.
Goth girl any day.
I don't know if you go back on like the VODs or whatever, if I said anything like this out loud. I'm sure I mentioned it a few times to you guys, but I didn't have anything planned after that point, and it was a really weird position for me to be in because I didn't know what decision you would make. I figured generally people go for the good guy side, but I wasn't sure with you guys.
I don't think we knew either.
I think we were, honestly, when it first happened, I think that 3 of us, minus Whack, were all like 80% ready to join him.
Right, yeah, and it's cool as well. Like I played Fable, the evil one was better. You know, like it's fun. And it would have been very interesting to see, and that would have been the rest of the campaign. Your pursuit would have been changed. Darkfire can hack the bracer to twist it to him and his pursuit to free him or whatever instead, and that would have been what happened. And yeah, it would have just been this, instead of you racing to stop him from being freed, it would have been the fight and struggle to get there and complete the other side of it. You would have. Oh, you would also.
It would have been dope to see that ending though. If we
your final boss would have been Hasmol in that scenario as well.
Oh my god!
Yeah, makes sense.
That would have been a whole other thing.
That's
How horrific! Oh my god!
All right.
I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like going through all these questions, and I was like, I want to fucking know about that because I don't really have a lot of questions because I really just want to get to theirs. But I was like, when I thought about that, I was like, I need to know. Because I am a dark side. I am a kill the younglings. That's just where I sit. All right. So when that choice happened, it was extremely hard for me to realize I was playing a character and not playing Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I wanted to see the evil version as well, you know. But you are.
I was telling John and PB not to give me the dirty looks after I said kill.
Listen, I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
You said younglings. I'm
talking in a fake, unrealistic world.
You said your name's Andrew. You didn't even say Tiger or your character. You said Andrew, which is your name. How am I supposed to? I'm protecting my kids right now, right?
God's never having you over for the potluck.
Oh my god! Oh my
I
god!
used to be like, yeah, younglings, kill them. And now I'm like, what?
We have about
a couple of really intense decisions like that in this campaign where I had to be like, stop and really think about what my do in that moment.
Totally, absolutely.
Good moment.
I remember having. I think we all had those moments.
Yeah,
for sure in the show.
That one at the end. Where you were, oh my god, John, where you sat back and you were like, okay, what would I do? Oh god, it was so good.
It was such a mind fuck where it was like,
John thinks I'm a psychopath now.
Would I just sacrifice? Like, God, I don't like me. I don't know.
Yeah, it was intense.
There's a lot of questions. We've got about 25 minutes left. If we don't if it doesn't matter. If we don't answer them, and you want
Ask
to,
him on the Discord.
and I've missed one,
Yeah.
just you can at any of us in the Discord and we can answer it.
Oh, wait, after today, is the Discord going to move into past shows?
Yeah.
Moves into the
Oh,
retired
man,
section.
I realize after today I'm not going to see you guys every Tuesday.
Horrible.
I know.
Do you know what was the worst
Okay,
thing for me
let's
about
not talk
today?
about it right now.
Was me setting up the OBS thinking, oh, I have to delete all these scenes later on for the Darkfire. It fucked me up. I was like, oh, that's weird. That's weird.
Yeah, just like save it. Why do you have to
one
delete
kilobyte
it?
each little thing, you know?
I don't need it. Question.
Maybe we'll come back or something.
Question for Wax Steven.
Leave it ambiguous, Brad.
How did you come up with the story of Corundin? Was it all improv? It was really good.
Yeah, it was all improv. 100%.
You're that is the moment I was like, holy fuck, Wax, really good. Like, not
And
just
that's why
good, like,
everyone should want to play in Wax Steven's campaign. That's the
really
reason.
good. I know. I really would love to be GM'd by Whack one day.
Most underrated
really
GM
fun.
on Twitch, in my opinion, right there.
What?
Thank you.
Most underrated GM on the entirety of Twitch.
I
Like,
improv all
everyone
of
should
your
know Wax
stories.
Steven. Like everyone's like, oh my god, Matt Mercer, Matt Colville. Wax Steven should be in that list, in my opinion. And we're gonna try and get him there, right? Tablestory fam, that's right. Household name Wax Steven, 2027, President of the United States of Dungeons and Dragons. Sithis Plays says, what did the other mask? No, 19, because it says story 19, because it freaked me out. Received do the one from the Elf Queen. I told you it's life based. It extends his life, and it also would, it heals him every round technically. Is another thing it does. Werelock. Other than the ending, what were your favorite moments in the campaign? Try and quick fire this if we can, I guess. Whack. Any standout moments?
Favorite moment in the campaign was the entirety, I think, of Roseguard.
Agreed.
I really felt like it was a character shaper for all of us. And it helped us fall into the roles of who our characters would be throughout the entire campaign. And I just think it was well crafted. It was well balanced and interesting. There was stuff to do. We had the shopping episodes, which I know, like, you either love them or hate them, but it was a lot of different things in Roseguard. There was a lot of different kinds of stuff that happened. We had intense, like, tournament action. We had stories. We had shopping. We had intrigue with the blood grips and all of that stuff going on. There was just a wide experience that happened, and I think that's what you want with any big city in any campaign, regardless of the setting, D&D, fantasy, whatever.
Tiger?
Shotgun answers. Oh, never
Oh,
mind.
go on.
No, please go.
Drift versus Sir Sieg. Fucking, I didn't speak at all during that episode. I don't care. It was my favorite episode. It was so fucking good.
I was just gonna say the most fun I've ever had in my
I
entire
always feel awkward
playing
though.
game.
I always want to do stuff where everyone's involved. And honestly, the tournament, I set it up with the intention that Rin or 19 was entered by the Kosharians and Drift supported by Iro via the Boulder Downs. Was that who entered you in?
Yeah.
And the and that was my plan. I really wanted there to be 2 of you being supported by the other one, or maybe even 3 of you in. I knew Iro almost definitely would not join it, so I was trying to figure out a way to put him in. But I was like, it would be cool if all 3 of them were in it, because I love the Dragon Ball Z tournament arcs. I was like, it would just be, it doesn't matter who wins or what happens or whatever, they're in it. And then only one of you went in, and I was like, oh no, there's going to be at least one episode where it
was fucking amazing.
split up or whatever. But it was cool as shit, and I think
so
we all
fucking
felt
great.
that, so I was less. And
The
I
most
think
fun
I
I've ever
spoke to
had
you
playing
guys
D&D,
at the
so that
time,
was
and
for sure
all of you were like,
my
I don't
choice.
care, it's cool. But
I was jumping up and
And you
down.
did not think I was gonna win. I talked to Brad
Oh my
every
God, no.
night after
Yeah.
every tournament.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, I'm really shocked you beat the first one. That was great, but there's no way you're beating the second one. Like, it's
Yeah, I know, dude.
literally,
Really,
he was like, "There's
really
no
didn't.
way," and I was like, "No way." He's like, "I mean, there's always a way, but realistically, man, like these
Yeah.
are tough as shit." I was like, "All right," like
Yeah.
with Eero. I mean, Eero won that for me. Like all of every.
I don't know how to balance 1v1s very well, and I don't know how to balance post level 5 very well. But that really is the proof.
That was so fucking good. Oh my god.
But yeah, no, you destroyed it. You've all done this to me 1,000 times by now, though. Every campaign I've run, my players have been like, "Whoop, we killed the big bad evil guy, ruined the and I'm like, but now what the fuck am I gonna? You ruined my whole. And that's why I don't care about the story anymore. I just go, oh, you did it, yay! I'm with you. Who was next on this list? Oh, go on, you got two?
Favorite thing is falling vampire, not vampire, bat battle. That was fucking epic. That was so incredible.
Oh, falling down the
yeah, that was so fucking cool.
Thing that's not in any Final Fantasy.
Holy shit, it was so good. And then third,
I'm gonna get a complex now. I'm like, oh god, that was in a Final Fantasy. I can't use it.
And third and final one, probably a little selfishly, is like the end, the absolute very end.
Yeah. What about you, Tiger? Did you say one?
I just want to make sure I get back to this question. What was our favorite
moment?
Other than the ending.
That's good. Other than the ending, okay.
What was your favorite moment in the campaign or whatever?
This is gonna sound maybe a little strange, but like I think my favorite moment was the scene of me behind the mirror leaving the 3 party members.
Dude, heavy as fuck.
Shit was heavy. I like heavy shit. I think that emotions are an awesome thing to play with.
Yeah.
I think that emotions are like.
That was the hardest I cried during the campaign.
Like
wait, which part?
When I was behind the mirror at 19.
We're all yelling at him.
Yeah.
Like I think that like something I always love about like anything is emotion, right? Like we made people laugh, like we made people laugh. We made people cry. We made people have all types of emotions. And when I go to like watch a movie, that's what I want. I want all of the emotions. And I feel like that entire episode was just crushing, but also like there were things that made people probably like have a nice big ass smirk. Like when me and fucking Drift said, I am 19 together, basically in that moment. Like, yeah, some people are crying because they're sad, but some people were just like, oh my fucking God, that's heavy. That's fucking awesome. And I don't know, like that was probably why it was one of my favorite scenes. It has nothing to do with like my acting or anything like that, or my improv. It has to do with knowing that like I caused an issue that made all the other characters have to get emotional and find emotion, not just me. It makes
the library scene was really good too. That episode where we basically just screamed at each other the entire episode. That was insane. That was so fucking good.
I love when I locked mom and dad in the room and
Oh my God.
It changed everything. The fact that you forced
I think
Hero and Rin in the
an
same room like
unbelievably
that,
important scene.
Yeah, it was so good.
That was one of my favorite because contrary to the thing I said earlier on where I never get to see chat, I didn't say shit for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think I was in it like twice where I went, and this what happened last week, and then at some point you were like, where's that gnome? And he was like, I'm out here. And then that was him done.
Yeah.
And then I just sat there with chat. I was typing in chat. It was so fun. You guys were going through this thing, and I just shut the fuck up and let you guys work through it, and I didn't do anything. And I got to enjoy an episode. There was one episode of this whole campaign that I just got to enjoy as a viewer entirely, basically. It was great. That was just to jump on that wave of that one episode was cool for me, personally, as a GM player.
What was it called? Does anybody know?
It was called There Is Poo Poo in My Bum Bum.
Oh my God.
Special episode. I don't know. John, did you say a favorite moment?
Me? Oh, it was the tournament for sure. Like that was the most fun I've ever had playing this game, and it was.
That shit was so fucking intense.
I've never had, and
the
it's not because like all eyes were on me in the
episodes.
tournament and me and Arrow, but it was like just this like exciting. I was excited when you presented it to us at the beginning of the like when they're like, wait, you're gonna join and they like liked me for some reason, and like because I did something back in like the other city, like it was so cool. They entered me in, and then like they were like looking at me like you little small twerp, like no way.
The viewer hype between those episodes was immense as well. Like the amount of excitement I saw coming from you guys in the Discord or in the chat week to week was insane. I think that really locked a lot of people in for the campaign. I think a lot of people at that point were like, this is great, and I'm going to watch this every single week, just like, I feel like that was when a lot of people who were like, I don't know, were like, this is the best thing. I don't know, but I agree. Hype around it, outside of it, was just insane to watch for me as someone who's been running D&D on Twitch for a long time, or a few years.
Yeah. So much going on right up to that too, like with the blood grips and with Rin and like in the sewer and then like
losing her finger. Yeah,
like
totally
not coming, not showing up because he was getting jumped. Like, and like it was so many good stories happening at once.
Yeah.
Eero and me doing this tournament and like them off and like dealing with like it was just so because man, it was like a fucking amazing TV show. Like
it was great. I really enjoyed running it, and a lot of that I had not planned for. I mean, the whole Blood Grip storyline that 19 got himself into was just completely off of a flippant quest from a Goliath. I had to make it all up.
People underestimate themselves, I think, a lot with improv, and they think, "Oh, I'm not good at that." When you force yourself into situations where you have to do it, your brain will cover you. Like it will happen.
Yeah,
you just
I
have
definitely
to let
think
it
that is
happen.
true.
And you know, you'll come up with some crazy shit. So there's a contrast that I think a lot of DMs need to have in their repertoire, which is you write a bit and you make sure that you leave room for improv. And you just see what happens, because a lot of times those moments that you think are the best in the whole fucking series or whatever, 100% improv, like just whatever, you know, like it just comes out of your ass. You pull it out of your
ass. Like situations, not complete sets of things. Like, oh, I want this character to maybe potentially experience this emotion, and then when you see the opportunity come in the campaign, you go, oh, I can do that right now because they're going that way, and I'll just present it by having this character just show up and give them the opportunity or something like that, rather than writing a whole campaign. Oh, they go to the inn and then they go here and then they go that. So yeah. Fuck, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that as well. I'm terrified whenever I have to improv because I'm convinced I can't do it, and then, you know, again, Whack is right. You will, most of the time, your brain will provide. Noodle Leaf asks, which Stout Boots is everyone's favourite? The first one or the second one? Maxius or Stubby?
Stubby.
Wait, which one's Maxius?
Maxius is the first one that told you all the stories on the cart. Yeah, that was his name that I didn't ever
he was exaggerating his war stories, by the way, as we learned.
Am I answering as Whack Steven or Eero?
Well, I guess they're different. We're both then.
Okay, Eero is Maxius because the stories were fucking epic.
Yeah.
Me is probably Stubby because he saved our ass.
Stubby was so
cool. Strong. It was ridiculous. Every roll was a crit.
You were rolling so high for him.
Couldn't believe it. You made me want to play his class. Like he was a ranger, right?
Yeah, he kind of did before.
But you made him look cooler. You made rangers look cool again to me.
Yeah, he was super strong. Tiger?
I feel like, okay, ask me in full what it was one more time.
Which Stout Boots is your favorite one? The first one that told the stories on the cart, or Stubby who was saving everyone's ass at the end, or just damage dealing random DPS character that was with you at the end?
I think that it's definitely the brother, the one that survived, because
saved your life, dude.
Yeah, he literally saved my life.
You also had you were with him for a little longer. You had a direct.
Yeah.
It could very well have just been you two going in to face.
For some reason, I thought there was a third person there, which is why. Question again. For some reason, I thought you included. For some reason those monks in the library in there. Not the monks, but the
library gnomes.
The little library gnomes. Yeah.
Why my brain was thinking that, considering they're nothing to do with it.
There's a set of roles that would have led to a version of events where 19 and Stubby walked into that final encounter alone with no hope of the other three showing up as well, which is kind of cool to think about. Where is 19's cat, says Legan's Life? Still on the farm. He left him with what's his name, who was taking over the responsibilities of John's farm to keep him safe. So he lives there, safe and happy. All animals have plot armor in this game, unless they are specifically like a pack of wolves that are attacking you on a random encounter, like the dire wolves that almost kick the fuck out of you early on, and or you actively send an animal in to fight. All animals in my campaign have plot armor.
I have a question based on that.
Yeah, go on.
So, if we died in the fight with Deathsinger, was there an Archimedes moment?
Yeah. Let me play it out for you.
That's why I saved Archimedes, like mechanically.
Yeah. Let me play it out for you. Iro fails his last saving throw. Yeah. Archimedes says to you, you can save yourself and one other. Who do you pick?
Oh!
What would Iro have done?
Holy shit!
No way. No way.
Who would you have picked?
Oh, I'm not saying.
Oh, that's some
For sure.
serious shit.
Me for sure.
Not saying.
Oh wait, no, because I'm like, no, I've
Would've
lost.
been
No,
Rin.
He probably would have
It
picked
would've
Drift.
I think it would have been Rin.
No, I think he would have picked
it
Drift.
would have been me or Rin, because he didn't like what I became at all. He did not like the dark energy.
But he
I think it
thought
would have been
he'd
Rin because I
save
think he's
you.
secretly falling in love with Rin.
No.
Nah.
Number-
No, not at all.
Nah.
I just want to hear him say it if he did.
No,
That's
I
one
think
thing Chad got super wrong.
I think so
Yeah.
as well. I didn't
Always
get that
like,
vibe.
oh, Rin and Eero. And I told PB like,
Yeah, we talked about it way early on.
I got
I
like
was
a dual
you know
leadership,
that's not happening, right?
brotherly, sisterly
like it.
vibe from it as
Yeah.
well.
It was a brother sister vibe.
I have the
right
same
away.
thing on a Thursday with Tuesday's character. Everyone thought our characters were kind of in love, but they're absolutely brother and sister. One's a half
Yeah.
orc and one is an elf. But
People love love, man. People
Yeah.
love love.
yeah, they love it. Wax Steven, what's up with the Kalius family name and the research Iro did in Rosegard? Can you tell more about it? From Patrick.
Yeah, because I did talk about it a little bit during the show. Eero was searching for his family. That was the reason that he left the Faglan, was to search for his family. And he inadvertently found one. That was kind of his whole story.
Well, he found one.
Yeah, well, that was my point.
No, I meant us. I meant we were your
That's-
family.
Yeah, that's what his point
My
was.
point.
Yeah, I mean, I have a shit ton of info on like specifics and things in case if you pushed it more, but you never did. Which you can have one day if you want, Wack, or not. I don't mind. I know what you're like. You might not want it.
No.
I don't think so. Missile Monkey says, does Darkfire exist outside time? If you mean, is it possible for him to exist outside of his seal? Yes. But I think you mean, does he exist outside of time itself? Yes, he does. He lives in a strange pocket dimension that's just created by the Magi that made the Nightstorm rune. The Nightstorm rune is weird. Although you guys could use it to communicate with anyone, it basically does that wibbly wobbly thing where it has just a set of ridiculous amounts of power, and it can dump you out in certain places. It can dump you out in the fucking prison that Darkfire's in, and it can dump you out in one random point in time that is about 1 year before Rosegard before the snow melts in the area where Rosegard is. That's where you were. You were in the very last year of the snow, of the Frozen Age.
So fucking cool.
And it can do some other things that is irrelevant. Roy says, during the battle between Drift and Walter, the first claimed there was another who was a vampire. Did he? Did you have something planned for that? Me? I'm pretty sure I didn't claim there was another that was a vampire. I think he was referring to Muriel, who wasn't a vampire, but if I had said that, I might have misspoke. I think I might have meant an undead. So
Cool.
yeah, there was. I think he probably has other potentials around the world. The first, I got very, and I think he got very Drift focused at the end because he was that close with Drift. But the first isn't. He's not gonna put all these eggs in one basket. He, for sure, has all these people. He's a warlock patron. He's the fiend. He's the archfey. He's one of those. People scream out, "Help me!" and he's like, "Well, I want to get to your mortal realm. I'll help you out, but if your body is strong enough to contain me, and I train you, I'm going to. I will show out. I will show up. What happened to Olds? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. For John, in the battle with the first, when you jumped off the bridge, was that influenced by the live chat, or were you thinking to do that yourself?
Oh my god, I was not looking at live chat at all during that.
Were they saying that? I don't have any fucking idea what happens in chat.
I know they were saying that too.
No. Were people in chat saying to jump?
I guess so. I wasn't watching chat during that moment either.
Yes. No. What did it for me was, I can't remember exactly what you said, but I asked, did I hear that? Was that said out loud, Brad? It was something like someone, I think 19 had asked, or like
you. I think.
Yeah, and he said like they just need me. And when I heard that, on my next move, I jumped.
Right.
Because in my mind, I was like, well, if he just needs me and he's only going after me and he's killing my friends, I just jumped. I was like, that's my only, that's it. Right. And I also had in my mind, that's why I asked if I can get off with just my movement. I had Misty Step that I've never used. I had the thing that could barricade me if I took any damage in like a blood shield. So I thought I could survive for sure, but get him away from my friends who were really getting messed up.
Yeah.
So that
I think that makes sense, because I think you did make that sort of snap decision.
I definitely, yeah. I use chat, by the way.
I kind of figured you might do that, you guys, as well.
Really?
Not jump, but something. The bridge, I mean, I just thought a lot of the bridge thing was just, I thought it would be cool, and also there was a map available to me. Sometimes I completely reconfigure what I have planned, because there's a better looking battle map. I go, that looks dope as shit, and it would be way better if it was set on a bridge, and I think maybe I did that. So the bridge, I didn't think, they'll jump off it necessarily, but I did also think they might, and I thought they might fall off it. What happens? It could easily get pushed off it. What happens if Drift tries to pull his bullshit and throw the first off of it? Because I figured that was probably what you were going to do.
Is that why he was levitating?
No, that's the whole reason he could turn into a bat. I was like, he needs to be able to survive that. He just levitates because he's based on a creature called the Herald of Blood in the Tome of Beasts. Ooh. So I think he has some of that bullshit, and I twisted him, and he's got something else as well that he can do. I can't remember what I made him out of. He's a weird amalgamation, the first of a couple of different creatures that I homebrewed.
I fucking love them.
I love them as well.
I love them.
Yeah.
So we're closing it pretty soon, and I know we are.
Yeah.
You have to play a certain song to close out everything, and I think that PB is going to be mad at me for saying this, and maybe even Whack will be mad at me for saying this. But
what?
You already know it. Brad's on it. I don't need to say anything.
Oh, okay. John, what you said you used chat? How?
Oh no! The only time I used chat was for remembering things that I did, like just because I sometimes I just forget like my powers or like my special like +3 because I have this thing or charisma modifier. So that's what I would always look to chat for. Like, did I forget to use?
So there's a lot of more questions in here. I can see them, but we're gonna be at time in a minute if we don't call it somewhere. I will. If your question wasn't answered, and it was to me specifically, I will endeavor to answer it on the Discord. I'm sure all the others would as well.
I will as well. If you just, is there a way you can show us the list of questions, Brad?
I don't know, but probably I'll
okay. I'll just do like a little video where I answer them, because it'd be way easier.
It's a funky thing here where I don't know, because Kujio made a bot on a page, and I don't know if they
directly beams it into Brad's brain.
Yeah. There's some good questions. I've seen a couple come up in the chat, but we'll be here all night. They'll be endless. So feel free if you want to re-ask questions in the Discord. If you join our Discord, if you don't know how to use Discord and stuff, you can tweet us. You can tweet either at Tablestory, or you can tweet each of us in our
Tablestory
in our respective Twitters, or you can probably come by all of our varying streams and ask people while they're live streaming as well. There are all the links that you need for all of these fine people, whether you're watching on the VOD or you're watching live, the links come up. Make sure you follow everyone. I'm sure using the power of the internet and Google, you will get your question answered at some point. I think the Discord is probably the best way to do it.
Best
but
option.
Not everyone is Discord savvy because it's weird, really, for people who have never used it. The first time I joined Discord was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, hopefully we did a good enough job of making the show watchable. Everyone seems to have enjoyed it.
We did, for sure.
Yeah, I think it was for me. It is a big deal to complete a campaign.
Without missing a single episode.
It's so great to be a GM that completes a campaign. It's such a nice feeling because one of the worst things is if you make a campaign and you don't complete it, or you're forced to end it early, or even doesn't start. And I've done it with several, and it is just awful to run one episode and it gets cancelled or something like that, or things go wrong. So to actually complete one is huge. Personally, for me, just who I am, it's crazy for me to complete these things because I've always felt like someone that never completes projects. So it's a big deal for me when I complete something that I thought of, brought you guys in on, and then we together completed this fucking thing. It's huge. So thank you guys for being great players. I've loved this campaign. I could sit and answer questions like this about it all day as well. Like these 3 hours is nothing. I would sit here for 24 hours and answer these questions because I love it. I live and breathe this campaign while it's running, and the next one I run, and the one after that, and all the campaigns I've run before. I love it. I'm immersed in it. My favorite thing is to create these worlds. My least favorite thing is being the one person that has to sit on the box of secrets for a year. And I can't answer any questions, and everyone's asking all this stuff, and a lot of stuff inspires me to think of stuff, and a lot of questions that you've asked in the Discord have made me go, oh, I need an answer for that. But having to sit on it is so difficult because I'm probably the one person who wants to speak about it the most. I'm like, I just want to tell you what's going on with the first, and I can't. So it's nice to be here at the end where I'm like, oh God, it's a good feeling.
That reveal, actually, because I think that was the first time I knew Deathsinger was involved in the entire campaign, is the Christmas episode that I thought was like just a fucking one-off, and then Mary comes in and he's like fucking singing, and I'm like, wait, what?
What is happening?
What?
Yeah, his name was John as well because John wasn't there.
On my fucking character sheet. What?
That was his cover name for that.
And I never watched it, so I knew nothing about it. When the Deathsong went off, I was like, oh, this sounds nice.
Wait, Tiger wanted a Deathsong. Here you go. Is this what you want, Tiger?
Yep.
Oh my God.
I've got another one that's pretty good. If someone had actually died, you want to hear the other one?
That should have been Deathsinger's song. It's clear water.
Let me see if I can find it.
Okay, wait. I do want to, while you're finding this song, I do want to share a little tidbit that I think you lore whores out there might really like, because I enjoyed it.
That's lore whores? That's what they're called now, huh? All right.
So listen, you will appreciate this. So on my character sheet, there's like rumors of this, where where's Rin is from is Black Point, which is where apparently the whatever he got the Deathsong from. But there are rumors that you could hear songs in the halls, and that it just, when he said that it was there at Black Point, I just lost my mind.
Underneath it.
Underneath the whole time, like fucking what?
I have to say,
fucking cool.
The only thing I have to say, leaving this situation, knowing I won't be back here next with you guys, is that, it was really fucking cool as a full-time streamer to see, is seeing everybody in the chat that we saw every week for a year.
Yeah.
That was always here to watch the show live. Yeah. I'm if you're out there listening, I'm grateful for you listening. I am. But I want to just shout out the people that are in the chat that literally were in here live. Like when you see that, when you're a streamer, right? You're full time, you're sitting there every night, you get your regulars. When you see that shit in a D&D campaign like this, it really means a lot to me, especially me. So thanks.
Yeah, I was going to get to it last, but the hype and the people that have been on this show has been insane.
Yeah.
Especially just all the there's a handful of people in particular, the Inquisitors that I called them, who knew everything that was going on, and really, I had to keep on my game as a GM and be like, well, I got to make sure that makes sense now because they're interested in it and they're questioning. They're like, yeah, but the paradox that exists now, and I'm like, oh god, yeah, that is a paradox. Well, I got to make sure that that's not a paradox or whatever. It was fun. I love that. I actually enjoy being tested in that way, because otherwise I might not. I will just get lazy and be like, man, the dragon did it with magic. So that was really fun. So yeah, just also, the amount of support that we had on this was ridiculous, and appreciate all of y'all. I'm bad at doing these.
But everybody who commented on YouTube too, because there were people who commented on every single episode, every single week.
No,
and
screw them.
Timestampers.
I'm not talking about the YouTube comments. No, I'm kidding.
Go
you guys.
in and be like, here's when break ends.
I shouted this out, I think, on like ragtags or something. But the people that if you're one of the people out there that does the break timestamps, just on any video, because they do it on all sorts of podcasts and things as well out there. Just you are the unsung heroes of my whole life. That find the break timestamps and put them in. Shout out to those guys, y'all. This is it though. This is the end. The absolute end of Darkfire. There's no more. This music is for you, PB.
Oh god.
This is it. We've been on this road together. It started on a little cart. It ended on a little cart. Apart from 19, who's off to God knows where. Yeah, he's off to do some triple backflips with a greatsword into the Feywild. And maybe Olds. But for the most part, I think... I
like how I left fuckers with both my characters.
This is... everyone else got closure. This is the end. Any final words before we're done?
I think I'll say something real quick. Just that I love you guys, obviously, in the chat. But I really want more people to play D&D, just because there's no better feeling in the world than creating something and getting out of your bubble of life and just being whoever you want to be and just experiencing crazy journeys. And I know it's nerdy and I know it's like different than like what maybe a lot of your friends like, but definitely give it a try in your life one time. If you watch it, especially too, like give it a try. It's magical. It really is. That's what I'd say. I love you guys. It's fun.
I'll play it. You've sold it to me. I'll give it a play. Whack, any last words? Any final words? Sound like I'm putting a gun to your head.
Yeah. Thank you, Brad. Thank you so much for making a wonderful campaign and something that I look forward to every week. And I appreciate you so much. I told you this before. I love you, and I mean that. And I love you, Tiger. I love you, John, and I love you, PB. And I'm gonna be sad.
Me too.
Oh no.
I'm gonna be sad not playing hero anymore. With you guys. And just remember what Eero would say. There's always another story to tell.
Oh, cut it there.
Yes.
No, we're not done yet. Any final words, Tiger?
Well, Whack pretty much said everything I would say. Genuinely said everything I would say. And just thanks to all of you. I'll miss you guys every fucking week. I was already talking about that. I was getting all emotional the other day about it. About how much I was like, this is literally like, I love streaming, don't get me wrong, but having like a group, like comrades to come together with every week and like just produce content is not something I have done a lot over the course of the years that I've streamed, except with D&D. So every time one of these shows ends, I'm just consistently I feel a little lost, genuinely, like, because I don't I do. I feel a little lost because I really fell in love with doing this shit. So it's like the sad part of me isn't that I just miss the people to watch. I will miss playing with all of you. I'll miss playing with every single one of you. And this is the second show I've been with Brad DMing, and it just gets better every time. It's just good shit. And I'm an emotional shit. So I'm not going to say much more because I'm not going to cry because I do enough of that already. All right. So I really appreciate all of you. Thanks for letting me play with you guys. And thanks for always making me feel like I'm included in something, because that's what really means the most to me.
And PB, any final words before we go?
That was really Final Fantasy, Brad. That was really, really fucking good. Oh, Jesus. Yes, and thank you guys. I was very intimidated to come in because I knew that I would be not replacing, but I would be coming in place of Speth, who couldn't make it, and I was worried that I would feel very left out, and yeah, you guys didn't make me feel that way at all. You made me feel very welcome, and playing Rin was really hard, but very worth it. The story was amazing. I'm really gonna miss playing D&D with you guys. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, for me, it was a pleasure to run. There's nothing better than having...
day in your life, Brad.
There is literally nothing better than having a good set of players as a GM who you can rely on. Like, it's so nice to be able to show up every week and just go, I don't even need to present anything to them, and I know that they're just going to knock it out of the park. It takes so much pressure off of you as a GM, which for me can be really stressful at times. As much as I fucking love GMing, it can be scary and I can get a little anxious and stuff. And I didn't feel it almost ever going into this. Regardless, we put it on every week. It was just nice being able to rely on you. And again, everyone can say what they want about what I prepared, but I really do think that you guys really brought it, and I couldn't ask for a better cast. And everyone that watched loved it. And that is, I don't know. There's no more that we can say, I think, other than thank you for watching. And
I mean, we could say that we could talk for hours.
We could. And if you want us to, you can continue to speak to us in the Discord and things. But
yes.
other than that, I think we're done. This is a close. 50 dead episodes. Just perfect. Almost a perfect year. About a perfect run. Perfect cast. Perfect game. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Whack out.
Whack out.
One last time. Thank you very much, everyone, and good night.
A girl, my father told me why they outlawed Arcani across the world. After Thelmecia was taken into the sea, it was said that Arcani was too powerful. But somewhere out there, someone created an Arcani weapon strong enough to strike at the gods themselves. The problem is, this time, they answered.